Hello there, everybody. It's your two favorite podcasters back again, ready to talk about movies and clowns and cats and, just all the things that rock our world. Anyway, for all of those people who have never heard of us before, though, welcome to Dan and Frankie Go to Hollywood. My name is Dan.
And I'm Frankie. And happy October.
Yes, happy Croctober to everybody.
No.
Come on.
No.
Amazon told us it's a thing.
No, told you because you're a weirdo.
And then I told
will have nothing to do with this.
Look. All right, fine. Well, for some of us it's Croctober, including John Cena. Come on, there was a picture of John Cena wearing Crocs. Now, come on, doesn't that make them cool?
No, never ever do I want to see that picture.
I'll send it to you again, just in case you've forgotten all about it.
No, I have forgotten. Did you send it to me before? I don't remember that. Why would I remember such an awful sight?
See, if I was the sort of person who, followed that whole meme thing about how you can't see John Cena, I would have, made some joke about, well, of course, because it was just a picture of a background with a pair of Crocs on the ground. But I don't like that joke. I don't know. I just don't understand
You could put any of my favorite people in the world in Crocs. I would refuse to look at them.
What if Michael Shannon was wearing Crocs?
You made me think of that. Damn you! I would never want to see that.
What if
he does weird fashion choices, but not that terrible. I don't think.
What if there was
if it turns out he wears Crocs, I'm going to be highly disappointed in him.
What if there was a knock at your door right now? You went to answer it, and I don't know why, but Brad Dourif, Kyle Gallner, and Michael Shannon all turned up to your house. And they were all wearing Crocs. Like, how would that make you feel?
It'd be very weird because I would open the door and I would see it was them, but then I would look down. I'd be like, take them off and throw them away, and then you can come inside.
Yeah, you'd be like, well, this is the kind of house where you got to leave your shoes at the doorway before you can come in. So.
But no, Crocs, throw them over the boundary line, just completely away.
No, what you could do is get them to leave the shoes at the door, bring them in, sit them down on your couch, which right now I've got the weirdest mental image right now. Why are they in your living room?
I know, it's a weird three that you picked.
It is. But then you're like, look, can you just excuse me for a moment? I've got to feed the birds or whatever. And then you duck out the back, go around, grab the Crocs, take them around, throw them over the fence to your annoying neighbour's place with their stupid idiot dog. And then, then when they go to leave, you'll be like, I don't know why they're gone. That's the weirdest thing. But happy Croctober, everybody. Anyway, but more importantly, yes, it is the month of Halloween. It is the month of celebrating all things spooky and horror. And I mean, obviously, horror is our jam. So we're pretty happy right now.
And once we're done recording, I'm going to go do a makeup test for my Halloween costume for later in the month when we do our Halloween poker day.
Does our beloved audience get to know what you're going as now, or are you going to keep it a secret for the time being? I'm going to keep it.
Well, if I get a good photo, I'm going to update social media feeds. But
good idea.
That depends because it's not just normal makeup; it's some extra stuff, and so I don't know how I'm going to go in making that look good. It looks. The idea seems easy, but when I have to do it on my own face, which it makes things awkward to do anyway because you're looking in a mirror and trying to placement and everything. We'll see.
Well, I mean, look, I've gone way too deep down a rabbit hole with my own costume now. So I'm putting together an Art the Clown costume. I've got the jumpsuit, if you'll call it. I don't know. I've got the clown suit. I've got the gloves. I got clown shoes. I actually found black clown shoes on the Facebook marketplace, which was kind of mind-blowing because I looked everywhere on the internet and clown shoes are really expensive. You don't know this fact until you actually have to look for them, or if you're a professional clown. But they're in range of $200-$300, for a pair of leather clown shoes. And so I kept looking, and so I thought, look, I'll try the Facebook marketplace. Looked up clown shoes. The first thing that comes up is a pair of black PVC clown shoes from a person right nearby, like 10 minutes away or whatever, for $15. I'm just like, holy shit. So I go to this lady's place, and yeah, like walked into her studio, and like there's all these like racks of lavish costumes and all this sort of stuff, and I am just like, what the hell do you do? And so yeah, it turns out that she is a costume designer for local sort of theater restaurants and things like that, and I'm just like, wow. And the clown shoes were actually from a place we have here called Dracula's, which is like a horror themed
love that. I haven't been there
restaurant.
for, I was like 20 years ago.
Oh wow.
No, a
Holy
bit more
shit.
than 20. I think it was in like it was, yeah, my friends came over for my 21st, I think, was when I went there. Didn't do my
so like 5 years
21st
ago.
there, but they were, yeah, 5 years ago.
Yeah, right. But yeah, so these clown shoes were from Dracula's, and they're in really good condition. So yeah, got those, got everything, but I'm having. Okay, so I am a complete fusspot when it comes to movie accuracy and stuff, and so I got this mask, which is not bad, but I'm just, it's just a little bit big, and like I have a gigantic head as it is, and I don't mean, in terms of ego. I mean, I actually do have a really big head, and this mask is even a little bit big on me, and so yeah, but so right now I'm sort of working on possibly doing like a makeup version of it or whatever, but I tell you what, like, yeah, I'm just going way too deep into this, but yeah, but anyway, but speaking of clowns, have you had a chance to see Joker 2 yet? Because I haven't.
No, because well, it's only been out a few days.
Yeah, so
And
lots of people have seen it.
yeah, I know, but I don't know. Things keep happening to keep me from the cinema. So maybe tomorrow's public holiday here, so maybe I'll get there. But I forgot, because Joker is not like the movie Joker. Doesn't feel like a like a comic book movie, because it's such a different take on Joker. That I forget that it's a comic book thing, which of course means Twitter is terrible at the moment.
Yeah.
Because there's just stuff everywhere about people celebrating the box office or going on and on and on, and Todd Phillips, it's his turn to get all the hate. So just everything, and I'm just like, oh god, yeah, even though it feels separate from that, people are still going. And I'm like, I hate these movies that everyone, like, I've seen people complaining so much about the huge budget, like it was their own money that got put into it, and I'm like, why do you care how much? Was the studio didn't mind. They gave that much money. Todd Phillips made that movie, which I haven't seen. From what I've heard, I'm very curious, because it sounds like, I've heard people say if you like the first one, you won't like the second one, which I think is obviously a massive generalization.
Oh yeah.
But people are saying, the whole thing of the first one with Joker kind of rising up and becoming how he is at the end is like, if you're into that, you won't like the second one, because it sounds like the second one is more, he's a pathetic guy, and the second one is just the court case and stuff after all of that. And so I loved the first one. I loved how it ended. Was fully on for that. But at the same time, if the second one goes how I think it might, based on bits and pieces I've heard, then I'm into that as well. So I don't need to be one side or the other. I can enjoy the full thing. And I've also heard a few small voices saying people don't, well, actually, I don't want to say that because I don't want to start anything, but some people are saying people don't get the point, because the whole thing of the movie is that he's a pathetic guy and no one cares about his mental health. They just care about the spectacle of everything. So it's kind of got that, but who knows? And then there's, of course, people who are just like, it has songs in it, so therefore it's terrible.
I know this, like, even before this movie came out, it was causing a massive stir, because people were like, oh my god, musical.
Yeah, but nothing like what is on Twitter now. And I'm just like, oh, and I follow a few like accounts that are really into DC stuff. So I've been seeing a lot there, and I'm like, I mean, I like DC, but I hate the way Twitter fans are about every DC thing. And now everyone's like comparing cinema, whatever scores, because Joker got a D, that's even worse than Madam Web and worse than The Flash and all of that. And so there's
Yeah.
all of that going on. And I'm like, I'm not even thinking of it in the same realm as those. Well, I haven't seen Madam Web, but like the traditional
So lucky.
superhero movies, I'm not like comparing it to that because it's such a different
Yeah,
thing.
exactly. Yeah, look, I don't really look at Twitter, but Facebook is exactly the same. And oh man, I think I've probably read more negative comments than I have positive. But
Oh, I've read way, like 95% negative, I'm
oh
seeing.
yeah. But the thing is, the negative comments are like really harsh. Like people are
Of course,
absolutely
because it's a
drilling this film.
comic book movie. You
Yeah,
can't
is
you
it
can't
though?
really you can't,
Yeah,
well, you know,
I know what you mean.
those
Yeah.
kind of fans
Yes, like
are the
air
ones that
commas.
if they don't like something, they go full on hate. There's no just, it wasn't for me. It's like, it's the worst thing ever.
Yeah. But
And I mean, nothing, I will just say, none of that influences me. I don't care. No, nothing's going to put me off seeing a film because I'm not going to know if I like it until I see it. And especially a film like this that is so different from all accounts, not just of, you know, the usual comic book movies, but also
yeah.
compared to the first one. So
That's the
we shall
thing, yeah.
see.
That's something that to this day bothers me so much is when you see, someone on social media, put a little review of a movie and go, oh, I absolutely hated this film. It was terrible, blah, 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 blah. And then you see a comment underneath it going, oh, that's a shame. I was really looking forward to it. I guess I won't see it now. I hate that so much. It's like, but and sometimes I've even replied to people, going, but how do you know it's not going to be like the best movie you've seen all year? Like you don't know. Like we're
Yeah,
all
I mean,
different.
even like me and you, like we have a lot of the same taste in movies, but
Oh,
there's also
absolutely.
lots of movies you like that I don't, and I like that you don't. So even if you said a movie was terrible, then I'm not going to know that I think it's terrible
Yeah.
because there's a chance it would be one of those movies that we have opposite opinions on. So,
And most of the time, I will still, if I don't like a movie, I will still say to you, look, absolutely check it
oh
out. I
yeah,
mean,
you don't do those reviews. This is trash. No one should see it.
well, no, see, that's the thing. I don't say, this movie is garbage because that is just
That's what I mean.
an
Normal
objective
reviews.
opinion, like, saying that I will say, in my opinion, I thought this movie was garbage because, and then explain why. Because, it just bugs me when people
Also,
are like, oh, this movie sucks. It's like, well, just because you think it sucks doesn't mean it sucks, Say it, but the flip side's the same, just because I like a movie doesn't mean it is good, So, yeah, that's the thing with social media
I
and
did
the internet.
think of something else while you were just talking. We listened to the Lady Gaga album Harlequin that came out, and I am ambivalent on Lady Gaga. I like her voice, but when I listen to her music, there's a few songs I like, but majority I don't. And there's a specific style of singing that she does a lot that I can't handle. It's just one of those sounds my brain doesn't like. It's why I can't listen to opera. Something about the higher female voices and warbling. Whitney Houston, I Will Always Love You. We used to do songs at school in the mornings before class, and for a
Right.
while that was one of the songs, and I always tried to think of an excuse to leave the room when it was on because I just can't stand the sound. Anyway, but I liked Harlequin because it had a lot of, the old show tunes and stuff. And yeah, there was one song, the song that I was looking forward to because it got compared to the style of Freddie Mercury was actually one of the songs I liked the least because it was
Right.
getting a bit to that thing.
Gotcha.
But yeah, really like the album. But I did read a thing online somewhere with someone saying that the songs do a really good job of sort of telling the characters' emotions and stuff.
Yeah,
So it sounds
right.
like they tie in really well to
Okay.
stuff going on in the movie. So
Yeah.
looking forward to seeing that.
Well, I did, unfortunately, because, this day and age, it's really difficult. I did read a rather massive spoiler about the ending of the film.
Oh no.
And it's something that I'm kind of like, well, I'm of two minds. On one hand, it's something that I probably would have liked to have not known because it's pretty big. On the other hand, it's sort of made me want to see the movie more now because I'm kind of like, oh my god, I really want to see this scene. You know what I mean?
So, so big ending, kind of like the first film had a big ending, so that's pretty cool.
Big
Oh, I'm
ending.
intrigued. Yeah,
And
well,
I'm
hopefully I
amazed.
can go see it tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I'm actually
because I would
amazed that
really
not
like to.
more people are talking about this. Even,
I
even.
think they're probably just too busy going, this movie
Yeah,
sucks.
that's
This is
true.
an insult to the comic book characters.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's like ruined the Joker for me
Yeah.
forever. It's like, oh my god, I
And it's
hate
like,
that. Like,
but also, I wonder how many of those people like the first one because, I mean, that's not a great Joker. Like, maybe the end, has some moments, but the Arthur is not a cool Joker.
yeah, 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 exactly. So anyway, but look, yeah, I don't know when I'm going to get to see it though because okay, so I'm at a point at the moment, with 4.5-month-old twins that my wife and we get one date night per month, and so I've basically. I came down with a choice of three movies that I can see this month. There was either Joker 2, Terrifier 3, or the original Thai version of Shutter, which to me, I still look. I haven't seen it in many years, but I think it's the scariest movie I've ever seen. Like,
Yeah, and I watched it because you recommended it to me for that, and I disagree.
no, that's fine.
But in a cinema, it would make a difference,
That
as
movie,
all movies.
that movie made me scream 3 times. Like, that is rare. Like, yeah. But look, I'm out of so. I mean, look, Shutter I've seen a bunch of times, so even though it would be cool to see it on the big screen, I was kind of like, okay, let's omit that one from the list. So it came down to the clowns, and yeah, I'm going with the black and white one because as much as which sounds like it's weird coming from an absolute, Harley Quinn obsessive that I would be putting that movie aside, but I am just so intrigued about Terrifier 3. Like, just this morning, I read about how in the UK premiere, 11 people walked out of the opening scene. One person threw up.
Yeah, getting the same press as the last one.
I know, but from what I've been reading, apparently, like, they're really pushing the boundaries in this film, and especially this opening scene, which I think is the one that we've seen from the trailers involving two people in a shower. But yeah, apparently it is so super extreme. Like, the director, Damien Leone, he apparently studios wanted to finance the film and everything, but he went against it. He was like, no, 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 I'm just doing it on my own because I want to do what I want to do. And I love that attitude, like that's the thing. Like, these movies are so punk rock.
That was the same with Barbarian.
Right, right. Oh,
The
okay.
studios wanted stuff changed with that, and so
Yeah.
he just waited until he was allowed to make what he wanted to make.
Yeah, yeah. No, good for them. Like, that's so cool. And I love the fact that, Terrifier 3 is just it's such a big movie, for being such a small movie. Like, as you pointed out in Brisbane, which is our nearest capital city, like there's a cinema showing all three movies, in a row, and
I
like,
think that's I think the company Monster. That I think they have. I don't know if that's happening. They have the festival thing, so I
yeah,
don't know if
right,
it's
right.
part of that because I saw
Ah, okay.
online it's happening in Melbourne as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
maybe it's a capital city thing or wherever they do their things that
Yeah.
they were doing a triple bill.
Right, right. I can't remember. Did Terrifier 2, did that get a fairly wide release?
No, that
It
had.
didn't, did it?
I think that was the one night only.
Right, right.
I
Because I
think
know
they were
you and
doing that
I
thing.
saw it in the cinema.
Yeah,
Yeah, I couldn't remember.
and I
But no,
think that's why it happened that way is because that was the one night that they were showing it.
yeah, right, right. But no, this one's got a wide release now across all the major cinemas and everything, and it's good to see, like, no matter what you think of the films, it's just, I don't know, it's a good underdog rising kind of a story, and yeah, I think that's going to be good inspiration for future filmmakers and stuff like that. So, yeah, but no, I'm definitely really, really keen to see that one. Yeah, so I don't know. Like, if Joker 2 is maybe playing next month still, maybe I'll get a chance to see that one as well.
Yeah, I
But
don't
otherwise,
see that happening.
yeah. Oh well. Anyway, there you go. Welcome to parenthood, everybody. Actually, another thing that I thought was interesting recently. That's probably worth mentioning, being that this is a movie podcast and it's movie related. I thought it was a little bit of a controversial move that Disney Plus has dropped the first four Indiana Jones movies from its catalog. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, I heard a few people mention that.
Yeah, that's interesting, and I mean, I kind of get it because apparently those films were Paramount, and they were made before Disney bought Lucasfilm, so it doesn't technically
Oh,
own the
okay.
rights to them or something
So
like that.
they're probably going to turn up on Paramount then.
Yeah, probably, but I mean, like, oh god, this is a whole other. I know, like, we keep like beating this drum, but it's another thing of like, I've got a nice little Blu-ray collection, a little box set of those Indiana Jones films, and they're always going to be there. We were actually. Was it yesterday, day before? We've got this thing where we plonk the kids in front of the TV and throw Disney movies on all day because we're trying to train them to be film buffs, which is working, I might add. But yeah, yesterday, like, we were halfway through a movie and it just froze, and then there's a wheel going around with, trying to connect or whatever. I'm just like, oh man, I know this whole world is like trying to, push us into streaming more, but yeah, it is so problematic. Because even
I think streaming is good. Is a good supplement to my movie collection, because obviously I don't want to buy every single movie I want to see. But I would never rely on streaming because there are so many things I want to see they're just not there. Especially when you look at somewhere like Netflix that hardly has any old films. And but yeah, they're gonna just keep the typical Netflix film that everyone trashes every time they release one, but everyone's watching them. So they keep making more and keep releasing them, and people keep complaining, but they all keep watching them, which I think is hilarious. But yeah, I mean, I get Netflix back every few months. Like, I got it back. I started watching the TV show Nobody Wants This because it's like a rom-com TV series with Kristen Bell and Adam Brody, and it's the best. It's very funny and it's very cute. And I'm like only 4 episodes in. I'm trying to limit myself because I want to keep watching, but I don't want it to end. It's like a 10-episode series, so I'm like, I've got to space it out. But yeah, it's really good. And so I got Netflix back just to watch that pretty much. And so I'll check out a few movies. But yeah, I just don't find there's enough for me to keep it around all the time. And if that was all I had. And I also got the ad version because it's a third of the price of the normal one. And I haven't watched any movies yet, but with this TV show, you get ads before, which is like maybe 40 seconds, 50 seconds or something. And then there's 1 or 2 breaks of 15 seconds or something. So it's not that bad.
Okay.
And I know Prime moved to ads. They just suddenly said, hey, you're on the ad plan now. Pay more if you want to upgrade. But I watched a movie that had no ads at all except for before it started. So I think, and I think Netflix said a similar thing, that I think the number of ads depends on what you're watching. But anyway, yeah, if I can get Netflix for, what is it, like, is it like $7 or something with ads rather than paying like 18 for
Oh wow, that's a huge
normal
difference.
or whatever. Yeah, it was such a big difference that I'm like, I'm just going to try the ads. I don't plan to keep it for very long, but it's coming up Christmas soon, so I'm going to be wanting to watch some cheesy Christmas movies. So I might keep it for the rest of the year. We'll see.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm dropping Disney Plus, not out of protest or anything, but because it's $140 a year, and I've got payments coming up end of November, and I was like, you know what, I just don't need this. I don't really watch it enough myself, and then Kylie's got her own account, so there's no point in the two of us each having an account. So, so yeah, I'm ditching that one. But you had a rather interesting experience streaming something yesterday, didn't you? that was upside down and
Oh, yeah, I was so excited. There's a Korean movie that's just come out called Hijack
five.
1971.
Oh,
Five?
one was it? I thought it was
One?
five.
Hang on.
Wow, it's hijack sometime in the
Hijack
1970s. Who knows?
1971.
Oh, it was one. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Sorry.
And yeah, I was excited after seeing the trailer, and so it just came on to digital rental things, so I rented it. I went to watch it yesterday and realized the only English subtitle option is closed captioned, which I can't stand. When I have subtitles, I just want dialogue. I don't want people's names, noises they're making, like if they grunt or whatever.
Yeah.
And like
Eerie music plays.
exclaim softly and all of this, and so
Dog barks in
and then
background.
I went to Apple to see if they were the same, and they're the same. So I have never seen that before, but now I'm gonna, every time I rent a foreign movie, I'm gonna have to like go to the fine details and read the subtitle things to check, because Apple calls it SDH.
Oh, okay.
Which means the same thing. It's the subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing.
Okay.
So I can't, especially with a movie like that, which is action, tense atmosphere. I can't deal with all the extra stuff on screen. It's like I can't even handle subtitles with English. Like I know a lot of people just watch things with subtitles.
Yeah.
But my brain will read the subtitles even if I don't need to. And
I'm
I
the
would
same.
rather just look at the picture and take it all in. Sometimes with foreign movies, I'm kind of annoyed that I have to not
I'm
have
exactly
full
the same.
attention on the screen because I have to read the words.
I want to be looking at the imagery,
Yeah, so
but can we get to the bit where what you were watching was upside down, though? Like that's
that's because
intrigued.
because the opening scene is them flying in jets, and so they were doing a maneuver that they flipped and were flying upside down.
Because you sent
wasn't a
Nobbins and I
fault.
a photo of like this fighter pilot and a thing and everything, and you said, and it's upside down. I'm sort of looking, and I was even going to make a
Nobbins
joke.
made the joke. Well, I thought it was a joke, and he's like, and it's upside down.
Oh, I thought you said that.
No.
I was like, how are they streaming a movie and they've put it upside down? Like, okay. Right. Because, I was going to almost mention, like, well, maybe it's the pilot, flying inverted and lol.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Oh, okay. Look, sometimes I'm busy and I just read the words and don't see who sent it. And that's on me. Okay. Well, yeah. But anyway, but just on a tail end, speaking of, because of course Disney Plus, the Disney Corporation, of course, stopped releasing physical media in Australia, which we were all very bitter about because, for us physical media collectors, especially us who like to collect every single movie in the MCU, that was kind of a rather harsh blow, but because they want everyone to go onto Disney Plus. But I did hear just a couple of days ago, someone told me that Sony it looks like they're going to be distributing Disney in Australia soon. So hopefully we're going to get that back, which would be really good because, of course, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 was the last MCU
overseas,
film released.
So I have still purchased
I
a
know,
few.
it's just so much, like, I just want to drive down the road 5 minutes or whatever, go to JB Hi-Fi, go in, just buy my stuff, get out of there, come home, boom, I've got it in my hand. Rather than going online and I recently got Clerks 3 on Blu-ray because it hasn't been released on Blu-ray in Australia at all, and I had number 2 on DVD and I thought, I should upgrade that one. And then I was actually, because that's right, I was talking to my brother-in-law and he was like, have you got Clerks 3? Because I really want to see that. And I was like, no, I don't have it because this world's gone digital and everything sucks. But then I thought, I think it's been released overseas. So I went and had a look, and sure enough, it was. So I finally managed to complete the Clerks trilogy, which is, made me very, very happy. So hopefully Sony will... But I wonder if they're going to back catalogue stuff, because Guardians 3 was the last film released on physical media here. So I wonder if they're going to go back, because I still want to get the Little Mermaid, the live action version on Blu-ray, and a few other things. So
Well, I mean,
yeah.
if they don't, you can go online and
Yes,
miss
but
your trip to the store,
us
and
old
to
people.
complete your collection, which is what I
Yeah.
did. I've got a few movies.
Grumble, grumble, grumble. Oh my god, I'm sounding so old right now. This is crazy. Yeah. No, that's fair enough. I suppose then you do get the added bonus of, the excitement of having a delivery turn up. So, there is that. So,
Yeah, and Amazon from the UK only takes like a week or a bit over a week. So, and actually, America is sometimes quick too. I guess it depends. I guess they must have special planes or something because they're probably sending so much stuff out here. So,
oh, it's because they fly upside
it's
down.
quicker than it used to be to get stuff from
Oh,
Amazon
okay.
in America. So,
Right. Yeah, it's those Korean pilots flying upside down that makes the planes go quicker. Or something. I don't know. Anyway.
well, that's hilarious that you've just been thinking this whole time that I said the movie was upside down.
Oh, I really did. I actually thought that you were, you had downloaded, or, you were streaming something or whatever, but they were actually streaming it upside down. Like, yeah. I genuinely thought that was you that said it, with,
No.
with a couple of exclamation marks. Like, it's upside down. I was like, oh my God, wow, that's crazy.
Oh,
Yeah.
extra good joke, Nobbins.
Yeah, wow, I'll have to change my wow reaction to a lol reaction. I'll backtrace that message anyway. But speaking of Nobbins, he's once again come through with the goods, our esteemed scriptwriter. For those familiar with our podcast, as you all should be, because we've got our core audience, our bunch of regulars. Hello, everybody. And yes, I mean you specifically. But yeah, no, you. Yes, I appreciate you. Every time we do this, we have a question posed to us by our good friend Nobbins, who puts a scenario or something together for us to respond to, and being that it's October, we're continuing. It's worth dropping that just to see your facial expression every time. Yes, we're continuing with our horror theme. So continue on from the last episode where we had to turn a non-horror film into a horror film, which was a lot of fun. Unfortunately, this is what Nobbins has written. Unfortunately, your regular movies turned horror did well, but not well enough for Elon Musk to return the witch's calls. As a result, she's quite annoyed and wants to punish you. She does, however, appreciate some of the things you have done for her in the past, so she's going to let you choose the method of your demise. You can choose one of the following horror scenarios to be put into to fight for your life. So we've got a slasher movie with a semi-magical antagonist like Jason, a slasher movie with a human antagonist like Leatherface, a zombie movie with fast zombies, a zombie movie with slow zombies, a vampire movie, or alien invasion. Which scenario will you choose, why that scenario, and what will you do to ensure your survival? Take it away, Frankie. What do you got for us?
Okay, my answer is kind of a cheat, but also, an answer.
Well, that's what we're after.
No, as in answers the question correctly, but also you'll see. I pick because I would be absolutely useless in a horror movie. So pretty much my only option is to go into a vampire movie because if I go into the right one with seductive vampire, then I just can be turned and have eternal life.
I'm so happy you've stolen my fucking answer. God damn it. All right.
But you'll see your scenario because, vampires are sexy, can be. They're the ones I like. You've got your Anne Rice with Lestat and Antonio Banderas, sexy enough to make me not care that they changed the character so much from the books. Right. You've got Thomas Doherty in The Invitation, and you've got Gary Oldman in Bram Stoker's Dracula. But I would probably to no surprise of no one who knows me, drop into the Lost Boys, and because it's just a scenario, can change the storyline so that everyone doesn't die. And yeah, and I just have fun on the boardwalk.
So yeah, I was thinking to myself, like I know that vampire movies, they sometimes, the vampires express frustration at having lived eternally because they get bored. Who wants to do that? But fuck that. I like the idea. Like, I am one of those characters that's like, well, no, come on, bite me. I want to live forever. Like, so I was thinking of doing that, but you've just fucking stole my answer. So I'm gonna have to. All right, you know what? All right, I can't believe this has happened.
I don't know why you're surprised that I would pick a vampire movie.
No, but for the same reason that I was.
Well, I mean, yeah, the question is about surviving, so.
Yeah.
How else can you survive in a vampire? Well, I suppose you can kill them, but I'm totally into the seductive vampire scenario. So,
I was kind of thinking, like, well, at least if you because like zombies, if you get turned, you're dead. Like, you don't have any thought process or anything. You are dead. I'm assuming. Well, I mean, the aliens. I don't know. Is that like butt stuff or are they murderous?
Depends what kind of aliens.
Yeah, that's true. Because I mean, I usually only appreciate butt stuff if I've got to pay for it. But slasher movies, you're dead. So I thought, at least vampire. If I don't,
So you're discounting your abilities to survive.
Yeah. So look, I just think like slow zombies is just too easy. Honestly, every time someone gets munched in a slow zombie movie, I'm just thinking, you know what, you had that coming. Like, seriously, how are you so stupid that you couldn't? I mean, okay, in the instances where there's like 1,000 of them, and you kind of backed into a corner, like, that's fair enough. But don't get backed into a corner, just have some smarts about you.
That's the same with like Jason and Michael Myers and that. There was one movie I was watching where I'm like, she's running and hiding, and I'm like, why are you hiding? Why not just get completely out of the area? Because he only walks, he never speeds up. So you could just run off to somewhere safe instead of just hiding in a bush.
Not probably more Michael, because he was kind of more of a human element.
Yeah, I think it was.
Jason,
on
the other hand, will seem to appear like, if you're running or whatever, if you stop and look around or whatever, he'll just be right behind you, like somehow.
Yeah,
the video.
There was it was Halloween movie.
Really good Friday the 13th video game that came out a few years back that actually kind of explained that in a way, because if you play as Jason, you've got this ability to kind of sort of warp play, or not teleport, but you kind of do this thing where you just like zoom ahead to a place that you can pick on the map, and you'll kind of appear there. And I'm like, yeah, that is kind of what Jason does. I don't really, I don't know, a slasher movie, I don't know, like
And then Nobbins also brought up in a comment about It Follows, which is not zombies, but still like people coming after you. And I think that would be one of the scariest movies to be in.
It would be. It
was kind of like Smile as well, where it's just different people. Actually, Smile might be worse than It Follows because they look so creepy smiling at you as well as coming after you.
Yeah. Look, I'm actually gonna pick Alien Invasion because it's very ambiguous as to what sort of aliens they are, and I just kind of feel that maybe they might find me weird enough that we could actually be friends, and I could bargain with them, and maybe even join their cause. Like.
What if it's like Jeff Goldblum Alien?
Yeah, like I'll join them and do butt stuff to people. So
that's
there's an audio grab for people who take and blackmail me down the track. Yeah, but anyway, so look, I was going to go the vampire route, but you completely stole my answer. So yeah, what will you do to ensure your survival? Yeah, in your case, you won't. And yeah, in my case, I will communicate with the
Well, I
aliens
will.
and
My
stuff.
survival is becoming one of them.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of survival in a way.
Well, it is because I'm still
Yeah.
me. My body might be dead, but I am still myself.
Are you though?
Yeah,
No. Yeah.
just with a like hot vampire partner.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, fair enough. All right, well, look, I hope that has explained. I don't even know if that answers the question, but
I just thought in my head then all this thing about hot vampires, and I'm like, yeah, that's like a hot dead person
well,
in a
exactly.
way. But
Yeah.
when we're taking the movie vampires, like they're still like seducing people, so they can still
Yeah.
appear alive. I'm going that kind of vampire, not the really
All right.
traditional rules of vampirism.
So basically, what people are getting from this podcast is that you're a necrophiliac and I'm into butt stuff. Okay, cool. Let's move on. So,
But if I'm dead as well, it's not. It's
oh
it's
God, you are not making this any better.
Hey, you know what? The hot vampires in movies appear like humans, so I'm just taking it as that.
Uh huh. Yep.
We're all alive.
Anyway, we're going to move on now. So the past couple of episodes, we've been doing a new kind of a mini segment, which we're very keen to keep going, and I'm going to throw it over to my distinguished co-host to explain what it is, being that this was her brainchild.
So this is reeling in the years where we pick a year. Well, we don't pick a year. We're going a year backwards every episode and just picking a few underseen or underrated films from those years that people don't really talk about that you might not have seen. And my usual disclaimer, I just look on Letterboxd and go by their years, and they go by first festival screening. So they may actually be a bit different from the official wide release years in some cases,
Yep.
as we discovered when you had Black Coat's Daughter on your list.
Yeah, because I looked up. So yeah, for me, my general thing, I look up on Wikipedia, that particular year in film. And yeah, I said to Frankie, oh my God, I know exactly what you're picking. Haha, lol, because I'm smart. And she was like, oh, what? And I said, you'll probably pick Black Coat's Daughter. And she's like, no, you're an idiot. It came out in 2015. I'm like, no, Wikipedia told me so. And then I looked it up. I was like, oh, no, that was made in 2015. Oopsie daisies. But then I also thought that Korean movie was Hijack 1975. So yeah, I'm very tired today. I am running purely on delicious grape flavored Monster Energy. Look at that, ultraviolet it's called, and it's grape flavored. Yeah,
Yeah, that looks like toxic stuff for your body.
but it's got zero sugar.
Oh, wow. There you
Yeah,
go.
so there you go. It's actually
All
healthy.
good.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to start this list. So well, okay. Should we do our honorable mentions first, or should we do them afterwards?
Let's do them after.
Okay. Well, the first movie I'm going to pick is a movie called Before I Fall, which came out in that year, of course, which is why I'm mentioning it. But the reason
I know this, maybe.
yeah, I ended up buying this movie on Blu-ray, and the reason I bought it is because it is one of those time loop movies where someone is, stuck in the same day and having to repeat it over and over again. And let me just give you a brief synopsis. Samantha Kingston has everything, then everything changes. After one fateful night, she wakes up with no future at all. Trapped into reliving the same day over and over, she begins to question just how perfect her life really was. And yeah, apparently you have seen it, according to the old
Yeah,
letterbox.
it was the movie I thought it was.
Oh, now
and
this is
then
interesting. It's got Halston Sage in it, and I was looking at that name. I was like, where do I know that name from? She was Kendall in Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse. Yeah,
Which one
okay.
was Kendall? The one they were
the
with?
main love interest.
yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, Zoe Deutch or something. She's the main person in it. But yeah, no, it was really good. But like I've said before, I am just an absolute sucker for time loop movies, which is funny because now that I think about it, Happy Death Day came out that same year. So yeah, there you go. That was a year for time loop movies. Yeah, so that's my first pick.
My first one is the movie Beast, which I can't remember if I knew Johnny Flynn before this and that's why I watched it, or if this was the one that introduced me to him. I feel like maybe it introduced me to him because it also introduced me to Jessie Buckley, and I thought they were both amazing in this. And it's a woman who lives in a small community, and she's got a pretty crap family, but then she falls for this guy who is, I don't know if he's new in the area, but he's not from the area, and people suspect that he is a serial killer, that they've had murders in the area and they think that it's him, and so it's like a sort of romance thing, but is he killing girls
Right.
in the area? And so I have to rewatch it again. I haven't seen it since the first watch, but yeah, I think I was not quite into like the later part of the movie, but yeah, overall I gave it 4.5 stars.
Oh, okay.
But
Cool.
yeah, very, very cool. And no one talks about it. And now there's another movie called Beast that came out more recently.
Yeah, right.
And so it's kind of lost the thing of its name. But
Damn it.
yes, very worthwhile film.
Okay. No, that does sound very cool. The next movie I was going to mention, I've just crossed off because I just looked on Letterboxd and it was from 2016. So,
Well, I mean, you can go by wide release years if you want to. There's
well, no,
no
because
strict
I wasn't
rules.
even.
I just go by Letterboxd years because I have marked everything watched that I can remember ever seeing, so it's the easiest way for me to look through what I've seen from the year.
But it's okay because I don't even know if I liked that movie.
Well,
It was no. Oh, it's so it's a movie called The Belko Experiment, which was this weird movie that was, I think it was produced by James Gunn. It was about these office workers that go to work one day and then all of a sudden, like, they get trapped inside and they've got to kill each other or something, and like it's one of those movies that I want to like it more than I actually do, if that makes sense, because it's such a cool premise for a film.
great cast too.
It's got a great cast. It had some really good sort of violence in it and all this sort of stuff. But from memory, the execution just wasn't that great. I remember like I blind bought the Blu-ray because I was like, anything James Gunn is involved with, I'm on board. So I blind bought the Blu-ray and I watched it and I was like, okay, that was a film. But then, later on, like a year later, when I was like, oh man, like surely that film's got to be better than I thought it was. And I put it on and I was like, okay, that was a film. So I want to like it more than I do. But anyway, it doesn't count, so shut up. I'm telling myself to shut up, by the way. So yeah, just go with it. But the movie I am going to pick from 2017 is a movie that I think maybe twice now I've tried to get you to watch it, and it is a movie called The Wall, which was directed by Doug Liman. And look, I am such a huge fan of minimalist films, where you've only got like, in this case, three. Well, in this case, you've really got two actors and another actor who's only a voice. And it is essentially, it's about a sniper and his spotter, and they're in, I think it's Iraq or somewhere in the desert, and it's Aaron Taylor Johnson and John Cena, and they basically get trapped behind this sort of what's left of this wall out in the middle of nowhere, where there's a Iraqi sniper who's got their sights trained on them. That's the voice that you sometimes hear over a radio. And yeah, it's an entire film. It's 90 minutes of a dude trapped behind a wall, and his partner has been sort of, near fatally shot. So it's kind of a race against time. He's got to try and like help his partner out and all this sort of stuff. But there is so much tension in this film. It is amazing because this guy can't leave his post because he's going to get shot. He's, his partner's dying and all this sort of stuff. So yeah, it is a mind-blowingly awesome film. I can't remember. I think I might have gone to see it because at that time, that was kind of when my YouTube channel was in its kind of infancy. It was only like a year old, and so I was just seeing everything I possibly could. And I didn't really know anything about this film, but I went along and saw it, and like, oh my god, yeah, it is so freaking good. So yeah, that one is highly recommended on my list of 2017 films.
That is one that I have not heard of.
Ah, well, there you go. No, I'm going to make you watch it one day. I really am.
My next one is by the director, hopefully I say his name right, Demian Rubner, who did Where Evil Lurks most recently. Yep. And his previous film from 2017 was Terrified, right. Which has a police commissioner and 3 researchers of supernatural phenomena investigate inexplicable events that are occurring in the suburbs of Buenos Aires. Is how you say it?
Buenos Aires.
Yeah.
You got to roll the R.
I shouldn't have even attempted to say that.
Buenos Aires.
Thank you. And it's very, very creepy. Has some really creepy moments in, and yeah, with this and Where Evil Lurks, he's a watch anything he does director because he's really good at atmosphere and creepy stuff. So I recommend that.
Okay, yeah. Well, my next one is a film that I was so intrigued about when I first saw the poster for it, and then I saw a trailer and I was like, oh my god, this looks so different. That is A Ghost Story, directed by David Lowery and starring Casey Affleck and Rooney Mara. So the synopsis for this one: recently deceased, a white-sheeted ghost returns to his suburban home to console his bereft wife, only to find that in his spectral state he has become unstuck in time, forced to watch passively as the life he knew and the woman he loved slowly slip away. So I think from memory, I think this was an A24 film. So, it had that kind of, borderline art house kind of a vibe to it, but still being mainstream enough though to appeal to, a wider audience. But, yeah, it was really interesting. And especially the fact that, the ghost was like a cheesy kind of, sheet draped over with 2 eye holes, but there's a reason for that, and it really worked well in the story. But
yeah, I really want to watch that. It's been on my list since it came out. I still haven't got to it yet.
Yeah, no, it was really good. It was kind of a really, touching story, and a little bit depressing at times, but I strongly recommend that film. It was, really interesting. That's the thing. It was interesting, So, yeah.
My next one is Wind River, which...
Oh, I came that close to putting this on my list. Yeah.
This blew me away. I was, so captivated. It's very bleak. FBI agent and a game tracker, which is Jeremy Renner and Elizabeth Olsen, except the other way around.
Yeah.
Investigate a murder that occurred on a Native American reservation. And Nick Cave and Warren Ellis do the score, which is haunting, and love it. So that's all you need to know.
Yeah, no, I definitely back that one. I saw that and I was like, oh, but I was kind of like what we were talking about before we started recording, was it a popular enough movie to...
Yeah, well, I know it's quite well known, but also no, I don't really hear people talk about it. So I
That's true.
figure it can count. Plus, it's such a great movie, so
Yeah.
an excuse to mention it for anyone who hasn't seen it.
Yeah, 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 absolutely.
But yeah, just be prepared for a not happy time.
Yeah, it's a not good time. My final one that I've got on my main list before my honorable mentions. Oh man, this I think this turned out to be my number one movie of the year. But it is definitely one that I know for a fact not that many people have seen, even though I'm pretty sure it was nominated for an Academy Award for screenplay, if I remember correctly. And that is The Disaster Artist, which was directed by and starring. Oh, no, actually, sorry. Well, yeah, it was starring James Franco, who directed, and his brother Dave was in it as well. And it is essentially the making of The Room, which, if you have not heard of The Room, you do not deserve to call yourself a film fan. No, I'm just kidding. The Room is a movie that is widely regarded as the most successful shit movie of all time. It came out in, I think it was 2004, and that movie to this day is still showing in theaters around the world. In select screenings, there are like, it's sort of the Rocky Horror Picture Show of our generation, if you will, where there are, like, I've been to a screening of The Room, like a proper screening, where a bunch of us all went dressed in costume. One of us actually won a prize for best costume. There's a big basket full of plastic spoons at the candy bar on the counter, because you got to grab a handful on your way in, and every time you see in the apartment, because the production designer, they bought all these picture frames to display around the place, but they didn't remove the stock photos that were in them, which is of cutlery. And so anytime you see a framed picture of a spoon, you've got to yell out, "Spoon!" and then throw plastic spoons at the screen. And it is an experience, when you're sitting there and you've just got this barrage of plastic spoons flying over your head at the screen. Like, it's so much fun. But no, my friend Steve, hello Steve, I know you're listening, introduced me to this film, the Room, one day. It was like, you've got to watch this review on YouTube of this movie. And I'm watching it, and I'm just like, what is this movie this guy's reviewing? And so, of course, I checked it out, and I was like, oh God, this is my kind of film. It is so spectacularly bad, but just in the best possible way. Like, I mean, I've lost count of how many times I've seen The Room. It is just, but it's one of those movies. It's unlike Deadly Prey, it's a different kind of bad. Like,
Yeah, I would a million times rather watch Deadly Prey.
yeah, look, I would as well. But anyway, so The Disaster Artist goes into the making of it and the relationship between Tommy Wiseau and my friend Greg Sestero. Had to drop that.
What's an
And
episode without a name drop?
exactly. But it had so much heart and soul to it, like way more than what I was expecting. Have you seen The Disaster Artist?
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, for me personally, I thought it was just a really deep character study, of this guy, and his ambition to try and make a feature film when he had zero idea of how to do it. Like, I'm pretty sure I ended up giving the movie like a solid 10 out of 10 that year. I thought it was extraordinary. I would highly recommend watching The Room first. I think you could obviously watch The Disaster Artist on its own, but I think you're going to get a lot more out of it if you watch The Room. And the two would just make the best movie double.
Yeah, I think I actually watched The Room finally because I needed to watch The Disaster Artist, because that was
Right.
in my year of my Zac Efron project, which if I haven't mentioned, this guy I met on Twitter, Liam, is massive Zac Efron fan. And at the time, because he had a podcast and I was listening to it, and that's how I found out. And I was like, have I seen any Zac Efron films? And I actually hadn't. The only thing I'd seen was a documentary about Richard Linklater that he was a part of.
Right,
So
right.
I went on a journey and watched almost every film of his that was released at that time. And so when I got to The Disaster Artist, I'm like, oh, I'm finally going to have to watch The Room.
Yeah. Well,
And
that's
so
the
I
thing.
finally did.
The Disaster Artist has got an amazing cast. Like, you got Seth Rogen, Alison Brie, Jackie Weaver, Zac Efron, as you mentioned. There, Melanie Griffith, Sharon Stone. There's so many people in this film. It was, yeah, really, really extraordinary. So, yeah, yeah, can't recommend that film highly enough. It was absolutely amazing. So, yeah, that's on my list.
You know what? I'm just going to mention, because we talked about Zac Efron. Um, it's not underseen, perhaps underrated, but that was also the year that the Baywatch movie remake thing came out, and that is a fun movie. So lots of
Yeah.
people trashed it, but I think you got to sort of just be in the Baywatch vibe. Like, Baywatch is a funny show. It's like super cheesy and ridiculous. And
Yeah.
this movie was. I think the only thing with this movie, Zac Efron is so jacked up that it
Right, right.
just, I felt uncomfortable looking at him because it was just too much. I guess because he was in there with Dwayne Johnson, that he just maybe went bigger
Yeah.
than he normally has done, and
Right,
that
right.
was weird. But yeah, the movie is super funny.
I am
So
keen to check that one out. Yeah, like I've got no stock in Baywatch as a show. Like I don't even think I've ever seen an episode of it. But no, the movie did look interesting. So I think the thing for me was more, it was generally, TV shows that translate to films do not translate very well. As in, like, almost every single time, like, even that year 2017, that was when Chips came out, which was of course based on the TV show that I grew up on. But oh my god, that movie was absolutely dreadful. So yeah, most times
well, this from memory, I don't know that it's a lot like the show, except that it's about a bunch of lifeguards.
right, right.
And it might have a few nods to it, but it's not. I mean, I don't remember it being really specific. Well, except of course Dwayne Johnson is Mitch Buchanan, so yeah, they've got the character name and everything. But
Right, right.
yeah, I don't know. It's been so long since I've seen it, but yeah, I thought it was super fun. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was happy because I like Baywatch. And yeah, it did.
enough.
Well, it's mixed reviews, but a lot of people trashed it, and it's kind of like The Meg or something, I guess, where I was expecting silly fun and I got it, so I had a good time.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's fair enough. Like I said, I would definitely give it a go at some point. Yeah. Well, should we go into our honourable? Oh, did you have
Yeah, well,
more
that
for
actually wasn't my pick.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I was
Right.
going to do an honourable mention just to mention it because it's a fun film, but because Zac Efron came up,
He did.
Yeah, that was the good. I had a good time doing that journey. I actually watched the High School Musical movies, obviously, for the first time because I had never seen them, and I was surprised that they actually were really, like, I had a really good time with them, and
Fair
so
enough.
maybe you'll be having to watch one day.
No. No.
Well,
no.
yeah.
No.
Why? Why do you?
No, look, you know me. I'll give anything a go. I was. Hey, look, I thought the first two Pitch Perfect films were a lot of fun. And ordinarily, those aren't the sort of films that I would, invest too
Well,
much time in.
I mean, I didn't think I would like High School Musicals
No.
because of what it is.
Yeah.
And I started it, and it starts with the two main characters meeting at some New Year's Eve thing because they both happen to be on holiday at the same place, and they sing a song together, and it's absolutely awful.
Right.
And I was like, oh God, what have I got myself into, Daniel
Yeah.
Liam? And then it's not his idea, but it's
get you.
his Zac Efron love that got me on the journey. But then it transitions into the main thing, and it's the guys on the basketball team do a song, which is not only a great song, but one of the best songs of the entire trilogy. And so, yeah, and then it was good after that. But
Yeah,
anyway,
right.
the film I had as my last pick was is seen by quite a few people, but just for anyone who hasn't, stars the delightful Aubrey Plaza, which is Ingrid Goes West.
Oh, okay, I've heard of the title. I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, she basically becomes obsessed with someone on social media, and so she travels to go west to meet her and become her friend, and then it goes, stalker vibes kind of
Right.
thing, because her behavior is, it gets a bit weird.
Right.
So, yeah, that was a pretty fun film.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, in terms of, so that was my main list. So yeah, I've got a couple of movies that, yeah, as you and I were sort of talking about before, I don't know if they quite qualify for completely underseen, but they might be. So, the first one that I want to mention is Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, which I was just pretty much going and seeing everything so I could, review it and get lots of clicks and become famous and become a career YouTuber, which, that didn't happen. I couldn't believe it. Wow, I thought everybody became a career YouTuber. So I went and saw this movie, and holy shit. Yeah, I was just engrossed in this film in such a big way. So yeah, the synopsis: after 7 months have passed without a culprit in her daughter's murder case, Mildred Hayes, played by the absolutely astounding Frances McDormand, makes a bold move, painting 3 signs leading into her town with a controversial message directed at Bill Willoughby, the town's revered chief of police. When his second-in-command, Officer Jason Dixon, an immature mother's boy with a penchant for violence, gets involved, the battle between Mildred and Ebbing's law enforcement is only exacerbated. And I do recall this was a true story, wasn't it? I'm pretty sure this actually was based on a true story.
I think so.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, this is one of those films that, aside from the premise being really interesting, the fact that, like, you really feel for this poor woman, that her daughter's murder case has gone unsolved and everything, and no one's really doing anything about it. Like, that is a really great way to develop sympathy for a character. But yeah, the characters in this film are just so memorable. So you got Woody Harrelson, Sam Rockwell, who was just... yeah, he was an absolute standout in this film. They're kind of the main ones of it. There's a whole bunch of other people in it as well, but yeah, it was a great film. I'm just looking actually on Letterboxd, like it's got 4 out of 5 on this one, and I see you gave it a 4 and Nobbins gave it a 4.5. Well, there you go. Yeah, no, I absolutely loved it. If you're after a really good drama film, yeah, absolutely check that one out. What do you got for your honorables?
Well, they're honourables, so I was
Did
just
you
going
need
to
to
mention
finish
them.
eating your food first?
No,
or no, you're
it's
good?
just I've had this here for ages, so
Yeah. Okay. That's fine. Just checking.
it's just my throat. I'm almost at the end of my throat coming back to normal.
Yay!
I will just mention one of our favourite indie directors had a film out in 2017, A Meowie Christmas.
How did I forget to put that on my list?
Had to mention. It's very fun. I look forward to revisiting again in December.
Actually, I think I saw it, but I thought, you know what, I'm going to let you have this one because you sort of seem to have more investment in Steve's films. So yeah, go for it.
That's good. It's not really underseen or underrated, but if anyone hasn't seen One Cut of the Dead, very interesting take, even if you're not into zombie movies. Veronica, which is on Netflix, which was pretty creepy. Before We Vanish. The Party, which is especially a must-see for Cillian Murphy fans because he's this guy doing coke and being weird, so it's very fun. And First Reformed, which Paul Schrader film with Ethan Hawke, which is quite the masterpiece. I don't know if it's underrated or underseen, but yeah, everyone should see that one.
Okay. Um, oh dear. Okay, sorry. Just had a weird throat thing then. See, we both got weird throat things happening. Only mine just caused me to not be able to swallow for a second. That was weird. There you go. And in today's episode of Too Much Information, no, the last film that I want to mention, which, judging by what you gave it on Letterboxd and what I gave it on Letterboxd, we're about to have a little bit of a debate.
Oh.
Is a movie that I didn't even really think I would enjoy. I just kind of thought, oh, okay, let's go check it out. And this is a movie that not only the first time I saw it, but every time I watch this film, it just, oh my God, this movie destroys my freaking soul. And that is Mother by Darren Aronofsky.
Oh.
Yes, which I gave 5 stars, and I would have actually given it more if I could, and you gave it 2. So this is a strange film.
There's a reason.
Okay. I mean, the letterbox synopsis is very simple. A couple's relationship is tested when uninvited guests arrive at their home, disrupting their tranquil existence. Now, look, I've never read the Bible. I know enough about it, but I'm sitting there watching this film, and I thought it was very obvious that this whole thing was the story of the Bible. Like, Javier Bardem's character is God, Jennifer Lawrence is Mother Nature, which... so it's, okay, a loose retelling of the Bible. But then, the whole thing with, like, the 2 brothers, one kills the other. I'm like, Cain and Abel. And, yeah, not only was it that, it was also a metaphor for what we are doing to this planet and the way that we are utterly destroying it and everything. Because, yeah, by the end of this film, like, it is not a pleasant movie to watch at all. It's actually kind of horrible. It's a really awful experience, but I kind of feel it's a necessary one for me. Like it's sort of a wake-up call. I thought it was brilliantly done in its metaphor. I know there's a lot of people who don't get it. Like, a lot of people just kind of watch it just for the surface value of like, oh, there's a baby being passed around a room and being, like, ripped to shreds and eaten and stuff. I don't understand. Whatever. It's not like a massive plot spoiler kind of thing. But, yeah, I thought it was brilliantly done. It's the sort of movie I often want to watch it again, but I'm like, oh, God, I've got to brace myself, But no, I think, like, from an artistic point of view, I thought, yeah, it was extraordinary. Yeah, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, I actually didn't remember that I rated it because I feel like I can't judge this film. I really enjoyed it at the beginning, and then when Michelle Pfeiffer turned up, I really liked that. But then stuff happened that triggered my anxiety so bad. Not the turn. Not the turn into the third act that everyone freaks out because of the baby stuff. Before that happened, I didn't enjoy the when it switched into that last bit. I didn't enjoy that as much as earlier stuff in the film. But yeah, I had so much anxiety from that, which I think was when there's a whole bunch of people coming into the house. And so I can't judge the movie. And I'm too scared to watch it again in case the same thing happens.
Oh, look.
So, that's just one of those. It's very rare. Like, I don't even know. Yeah, I don't know what was going on that day that it got to me and caused that. But it doesn't usually happen. But yeah, I can't. I was really enjoying it until that happened. And so I can't judge the film itself.
Yeah, that movie makes me feel anxious, and I don't even, like, have anxiety. But when that whole thing of, like, the crowd of people just, like, making their way into the house and destroying it and stuff, which of course, is a metaphor for our world becoming overpopulated and, destroying our resources and everything that Mother Nature has given us, we just take for granted and destroy it. And that's what I mean. That's like, you get to the end of this film, it's like, oh God, wow. we really have fucked our planet up, you know. So yeah, no, I just thought like the whole sort of blending of the dawn of man, like the biblical stuff, and then the environmental message and everything, like everything about this film I just loved. I thought it was so well done. And I like a movie like that every now and then, like I obviously love bright, happy films, but I just think once in a while, you got to sort of watch something that is confronting, that is going to make you think and feel. And
oh yeah, definitely you shouldn't stick to just one type of movie.
Yeah. I'm actually sort of thinking, I can't remember if I think Disaster Artist was still my number one movie of the year. I think this one might have been a very close second, or it was the other way around. I can't remember, but no, this movie made me feel on a really, really deep level. So, yeah, no, I absolutely loved it. So, yeah, all right. Well, that's our reeling in the years for 2017, which was populated by, I think there was something like 342 Marvel films came out that year, if I counted correctly, give or take. Yeah, it was kind of a mixed bag that year, but yeah, but at least we had some some good sort of indie stuff and whatnot. Now this is the part where normally Frankie and I go into the films that we've watched over the last 2 weeks and talk about them and make our recommendations and everything. I am going to hand it over to Frankie because aside from our 3 homework films, I have not watched a single film, which is one of those things that happens when you decide to have kids, or when you like accidentally have twins and you are robbed of all of your time. So yeah, I'm going to sit back and just nod and say yes a lot and hand it over to you. So the floor is yours.
Well, I watched a number of things over over time, and a number of good things.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember if I mentioned on the last. I did because I was sick that my Shannon September fell apart. But did I talk about? I didn't talk about Jesus' son last time, did I?
I don't think so. It doesn't sound familiar.
I think it was after. So this is a Michael Shannon film that. When I did Shannon September, I really wanted to watch it, but it just wasn't anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's available digitally, so I rented it.
Yay, streaming is so good. Oh, no, hang on. It's not. That's right.
It is, as a supplement.
Not
a only thing.
Exactly.
This is based on a book which I am tempted to read. Apparently it's a book of short stories about this character. But anyway, so it's following this guy who meets a girl he likes and starts doing drugs with her.
As you do.
And gets caught up with that, and then, wants to come out of it. And so it's pretty interesting because quite a lot of addiction movies are very bleak, whereas this one doesn't really it has some dark things in it, but it doesn't have a super dark vibe through the whole thing. And the main character is really, he's quite sort of got a warmth to him that he doesn't lose completely with everything going on. And I will just say Michael Shannon has a small role in this, and I think this is the movie where he's credited as Mike Shannon, which just sounds very weird.
It does, yeah.
He has glorious hair in this, and he plays this weird guy.
So that is just such a you thing to say.
I like when people have longer hair in movies if they don't have longer hair. Then
but glorious nice hair,
but it is.
It's like Michael Shannon has glorious hair. That is the most Frankie thing you could have said. Yeah.
I have a thing for cool hair. I think it's maybe why hair metal drew me in so much.
Right.
One of the reasons. Jack Black is in this as well.
Okay.
And Dennis Leary and Dennis Hopper.
All the Dennises.
So yeah. But yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah,
pretty
right.
good. I quite enjoyed it. So I recommend that.
Cool.
And then I watched didn't write these in order, so I don't
Oh,
know.
no.
Because October started, of course, so I
It
watched
did.
some horror. But I know that one for sure that I watched pre-October was Oddity, because that just came out at the end of September on Shudder, and I couldn't wait. I was going to kick off October with it, but I wanted to watch it. And this is very good. I'd heard lots of people say it's like one of the best movies of the year,
Wow.
or one of the best horror movies, because this guy, Damien McCarthy, knows how to do creepy, and I love it when you find people that know how to do creepy. It's kind of like a bit of a slow burn film at the beginning, and then it's like this woman's at a house. She has a house sort of a bit remote with her husband, who's a doctor and working the night shift, so she's there alone, and she's just got a tent there because it's not ready for them to move in yet. And then someone comes to the door who's a patient of where her husband works,
Yeah.
and says, because she'd just gone out to her car to get something, and he's like, while you're out in your car, somebody went into your house.
Oh, okay, right.
And so he wants her to let him in. And so it's the thing of, is he just a weirdo trying to get in the house
Yeah,
by
right.
saying that stuff? Or is there actually someone in the house? And then it just cuts away, and then the movie starts again, and she died that night.
Okay, right.
And then she has a twin sister who's blind and has this shop of cursed items. And yeah, it goes from there that the doctor has a new girlfriend, and they're living in the house because everything got done and they've moved in. And the twin sister turns up at the house. It's been, I think, a year since the wife died. And then the new girlfriend doesn't like that she's there, of course, and wants to leave, but she can't leave. And so, like, her car keys have disappeared, so she can't go anywhere. And then stuff goes from there. And there's this creepy wooden man thing that if you go to Letterboxd, you can see.
I'm literally looking at it right now.
And so, yeah, there's stuff with that. But yeah, there's some genuinely, like, there's really well done jump scares, because, you know, jump scares have a bit of a bad name sometimes, but they're very well done and effective in this. Especially one got me so that I felt like the shiver through the whole body from it happening, and also just some good general creepy atmosphere and stuff. So yeah, this is very good film. Highly
I'm really intrigued,
recommend.
yeah, because like I'm just looking at Nobbin's 5-star review, where he said fantastic thriller, which had me on edge for nearly the entire runtime. Actually scared me as well, which is rare. Acting and writing all top notch. So this is all very high praise, and yeah, one day when I get a chance to watch a movie, I might try and watch that one. Yeah, cool.
I then decided to revisit The Crow, City of Angels, because I had watched this. I remember I had the VHS set of the first two movies, and so I had watched this one as much as the first one, and I don't have that anymore. And I know a while ago I wanted to rewatch it because I know it gets trashed a lot, and I remembered quite liking it, but I didn't remember enough. And that is one that turned up digitally in recent times as well, and I own it now because it cost, like, it was the same price to, you know, as a cheap purchase, so I didn't have to just rent it. And so I watched it again, and it's pretty fun. It's not amazing, but it's definitely better, I think, than the reputation that it has. It's kind of it's all about the atmosphere and yeah, just the vibe of it, which I think is why I loved it when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
Parts of it feel almost like a Crow parody, like the guy who is playing the Crow guy.
That was Vincent Perez, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't on board with his personality.
Right.
And he's just got the vibe of one-liners and stuff, but it just didn't. That's the part that felt almost like a parody to me. It just felt a bit silly. But yeah, Iggy Pop was the standout for me and remains the standout. Like, his character's really fun.
I don't even remember him being in it. Admittedly, I went to see this in a theater because, of course, 2 years prior, The Crow came out, and as you know, is my third favorite movie of all time. So I was
Yeah.
quite into it, and I remember at the time I was working in this cinema where we did a lot of costume promotions. It was in a shopping center, and so we'd go around handing out flyers and stuff. And so when this movie was coming out, I was like, "Oh my god, I need to do a costume promo, please, 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 please!" And they were like, "Yeah, yeah, no problem at all." So I had this black trench coat. It wasn't leather, but I thought, "Fuck it." Got dressed up and everything, painted the face, dyed my hair black, like just with a sort of temporary, like a spray color or whatever and stuff. And I was like, oh, this is going to be so cool. So I'm going around the shopping center. I'm like handing out flyers to people. They're like, oh, is it a new Crow movie? I'm like, yes, yes, it is. This is going to be so cool. Yay. And then I got back, washed the makeup off, got changed, and they said, okay, you can go see the movie now. I was like, cool. Went in and sat down, and yeah, by the end of it, I'm like, can I just go back to every single person I handed a flyer to and say, look, I'm sorry. Yeah, look, probably maybe go see something else because
Well, I think that's the thing. Like the original movie has such a like strong reputation, and like the second one is not that. It's
yeah.
really different. Also has Deftones performing, which I had forgotten,
Oh,
and
okay,
it's
right.
like really old Deftones when
Yeah,
Chino
yeah.
had dreadlocks, which I always forget is a thing because I
Yeah.
didn't really know them until after he cut it. But anyway,
Right, right.
yeah, and the soundtrack, of course, is one of the best movie soundtracks, and I listen to it a lot. So it's really cool hearing the music. But yeah, there's not much story and character development and any of that. It's really just visual stuff. So, I mean, I gave it 3 stars. I had fun watching it. It's not yeah, it's not amazing, but I
Yeah.
think maybe its bad reputation is because super fans of the first one are going
Yeah.
to extra hate it because it's so not what the first one is.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that was my problem at the time because, I
Yeah,
was
overhyped
expecting,
because you
and because, I
loved the
mean, I was
first.
23 at the time, I didn't really, I was still kind of green a little bit, when it came to sort of a wider knowledge of films and stuff. And so, yeah, I was expecting the first one again. And I didn't get that, and so I've just always had in my mind, like, oh, terrible film, don't ever watch it again. But looking on Letterboxd now, the main picture is of like a goth Mia Kirshner with a chain and collar around her neck, and I'm like,
Yeah.
maybe I should watch this again.
Yeah.
Good grief.
She looks great, but her character is
And
kind of
water is wet.
yeah, yeah, but her character is like she's the growing up version of Sarah.
Oh, she was too. That's
Yeah.
right.
But it's kind of weird. Like it doesn't explain why she's involved and why she's there apart from a bit of plot stuff. That's what I mean. There's not really much development or like yeah. It's just a vibe. I think it works best if you try to pretend that the first one doesn't exist and
Yeah.
just look at this as just a story. I don't know. I think I've watched all of the other Crow movies. I know I definitely watched the third one. Um, and I think I enjoyed that one enough. Again, like it's good, nothing like super special. Because yeah, that's Eric Mabius and Kirsten Dunst.
Yeah. I can't
And
even
then the other
remember if
one
I saw
has
that one.
Edward Furlong, and I feel
Oh,
like I
yeah.
must have seen it, but it's not ringing any bells. Well, 2005, actually, maybe I haven't seen that one.
I think I gave up after the
Dennis
second
Hopper's in that.
one. There was also a TV series that actually had Mark Dacascos in it, who that actually had me intrigued because he's one of my most favorite martial artists, and he actually looks a lot like Brandon Lee. He was in John Wick 3. The bald guy, the
Uh,
main villain. Do you
I,
remember? No.
maybe.
Okay.
There's a lot of people in those
But
movies.
no, Mark Dacascos is really, really cool. And so that sort of had me intrigued, but not ever to the point where I was like, oh, I need to watch it. Because, yeah, I didn't. But anyway, what can you do? Yeah.
Yeah, then I watched Real Genius,
Mm.
which has maybe the coolest Val Kilmer I've seen.
Oh.
He's really cool in this,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, I
Oh.
just have to say he's got pretty cool hair in a lot of this. It's all messy and stuff.
Yeah, right.
Because this is directed by Martha Coolidge, and so
Yeah.
after I liked Valley Girl so much, and
Mm.
then I was just looking at what other movies she did and saw
Mm-hmm.
this one, and then yeah, JB had a whole lot of like $10 movies, so
Mm-hmm.
I picked it up. But
Cool.
yeah, it's very fun. It's very actually it's kind of like Valley Girl in that it's a certain type of movie, but it feels different from the
Mm.
usual what you'd usually get for
Mm-hmm.
that type of movie. But
Right, right.
yeah, it was pretty good.
Okay.
I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
And I did rewatch The Meg again,
Yeah.
so that was pretty fun.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, again, like I liked it when I first saw it, and I know it got a lot of bad reviews, and then I watched it again, and I still really liked it. I'm like, it's like a big shark movie with Jason Statham. Like, are people expecting Oscar-worthy stuff? Like, it's just fun.
Yeah. I know I've seen it. I don't really remember it all that well. I know the second one was absolute trash, but and I'm saying that objectively. I know that earlier I said, oh, you don't say that because you're supposed to say I think that no. The second one was so fucking bad.
Well, I'm gonna watch it because I know a lot of people say that. I'm curious because it's Ben Wheatley, but at the same time, like one of the podcasts I listened to, one of the hosts is really into shark movies, and she had a good time. And I feel like it's there's certain. Yeah, I mean, I don't trust anyone about this movie because of the way everyone is with the first one and everything. I actually had hoped to watch it by now, but, October started and I can only fit in so many, like some days I can only watch one movie. So I've just had too many that I haven't got to the second one yet. But I'm definitely going to get to it sometime this month because, yeah, I want to see because I don't know if people are just being harsh again because, I mean, it's just this big shark movie, so we'll see.
I know.
But I know, but you seem to have an issue. I have found with you like your really terrible movies, but when it comes to the just sort of mainstream fun ones like this, you seem to have more issues with them than other like Under Paris. I'm like, yeah, it's fine, it's just a fun shark movie, but you just thought it was abysmal.
I thought it was boring. Well, the Meg 2, if I remember correctly, it barely had any shark action in it. That was the thing. Like, I will only trash those kind of movies if there's like a really good reason to trash them. But yeah, the Meg 2, I'm pretty sure you don't really get anything happening until the very end of the film. It was sort of like, it's just very bland, I do love this letterbox review from somebody for the first one, though. It says, if this is trash, call me a fucking raccoon.
Yeah.
I actually love that review. I want to get a shirt with that on it and wear it to every movie that I go see that's supposedly terrible. Yeah. But yeah, like, I mean, a lot of the bad movies that I do like, like, yeah, I don't know, they're at least entertaining and fun and stuff. Whereas, yeah, from memory, the Meg 2, I was just sort of sitting there like, is anything going to happen? Like, yeah. But I hope you enjoy it. I really do when you finally get around to watching it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, time will tell. And while we're speaking of potentially bad movies, I had heard about this movie, Big Man on Campus, and it gets compared to Encino Man a lot. It's a kind of I don't know if you'd call it a retelling, but, inspired by the Hunchback of Notre Dame. And so it's this hunchback character that's been living in the clock tower at this university, and then two students try to, assimilate him into normal life. And when it's the very opening, had a couple of like reactions and things that I'm like, oh, this is straight out of Encino Man. This movie was a few years before Encino Man, and I was like, oh, did Encino Man just like rip this off?
Yeah.
But then this movie is different. It's not as fun. It's like it's going a bit more serious, but also it's just not. It just didn't work for me. The character is not cool like Link was, and yeah, it kind of went downhill after the beginning, where I thought it was going to be like Encino Man. So
well, that's a shame.
Yeah. And then October started, so I watched horror. I rewatched Lisa Frankenstein to kick off the month, so I was guaranteed a good time.
Yeah.
And I loved it just as much as the first time. Just it's very much made for me movie, has all the things, so that was good. And then I watched Bride of Frankenstein, has been my other October gem. I finally watched it after all this time.
Yep.
I was surprised that the bride is only in it for a couple of minutes at the end, because I thought that was going to be the whole plot of the movie.
Yeah, I mean, she's such an iconic character. Well, the design, the look, especially that hair and everything is just
What's
so
interesting
iconic.
is when you Google the movie, you see just pretty much all pictures of her and not all the other stuff. Like, I found so many pretty shots in the film, either like the sets or the backdrops they had, or at the end when it gets really dramatic at the end, and they're like got their, science equipment and they're getting the power and doing the things and all of that. There's some really cool shots of the two guys, and just like the angles and the faces and the lighting and everything looked really cool, like the kind that you just go, oh, I just want to have art on my walls of these shots because they look so good. And I tried to find them afterwards, but it was just all images of her, which is fine. Like, she looks great and she was really good, but I just wanted more variety. But definitely I see why a lot of people like this more than the original Frankenstein, because I did as well. So that was a really fun time.
It is a truly great film.
I would just quickly mention Kill, which I watched yesterday, which was an Indian movie, so I was very tense waiting for the first line of dialogue after what I had with Hijack 1971, because I had also rented this from Google as well, but thankfully this is a normal movie that just had subtitles for the dialogue.
Right.
And so this has been getting a lot of buzz from people. Action movie. A lot of people compare it to John Wick and The Raid. I haven't seen The Raid, and I get the John Wick comparisons because it's just mostly one guy just destroying a whole bunch of other guys. So there's that John Wick thing,
What a great synopsis.
It's just a whole. There's so many, like, you can see why it's called Kill. There's so many people die, but it's completely different vibe from John Wick.
If I ever have to pitch a meeting to a producer or whatever, I'm going to get you to do it, because can you imagine, I was like, okay, so what's your movie about? It's like, all right, so you got this guy and he destroys a bunch of other guys. Boom, give me the money. Come on, make it rain.
You know what, though?
That's
a pretty accurate description of the movie. So that would work as the pitch.
If I was the producer, I'd just be like, you know what? Where do I sign? Like, just take all the money, go make your movie. I just want to see a guy destroying a bunch of guys.
Yeah. So it starts with these two guys. They're army commandos, and one of them is in love with this girl who her dad has like an arranged marriage to someone else. And he finds out, I think they've come back from somewhere, and he had all these messages from her. And so they're going to plan to get together, and the families are going on a train to Delhi, New Delhi. And then, so this army guy and his friend get on as well, and they're going to plan to, get together and stop her from marrying this other guy.
Right.
And then the first 45 minutes are stressful because there's also a whole group of bandits. They're like an extended family that all get on the train because they're planning to rob it.
Ah, okay.
He'll rob all the passengers, and then then they realize who's on board, because this woman's father is like owns the transport company, this big transport company. So then they're like, oh, maybe we should just kind of make it like a kidnapping instead. And so then this guy has to try and stop it. So there's lots of fighting, him and his army buddy fighting these guys. But the violence, unlike John Wick, which is very stylized, this felt really real. It was really like grounded violence, so that you're feeling everything that is happening to them, and they get a lot. And so it was very stressful because I was so worried for them because they were getting hurt so much.
Yeah. I know. I loved your review about like, where you said, our two guys were taking a lot, and I was very worried for them.
I was. That's why it's stressful, because I cared.
But that was the thing, that movie that I've talked about a few times, Hotel Mumbai, which, was about the terrorist shootings and stuff. Like, that's why that movie affected me so much as well, is because, the killings in that movie were extremely realistic. They weren't like your sort of typical, Hollywood kind of violence. Like, it was really awful to watch. So when you said that, I was like, okay, no, I understand that. So,
What's interesting that a few people have noticed, because this has the reputation of being like really brutal and full on, and when you start it, like all the love interest stuff is really cheesy. It's like some really super cheesy stuff in it, and like Nobbins watched this first and also highly recommended it. And I started watching it and I'm like, really, this is the movie that everyone likes? It's kind of cheesy and silly and whatever. And then that first 45 minutes happens, and then the title card drops.
Yeah, that's interesting, because like the lead review on Letterboxd was, for the first 30-40 minutes, I was like, there's a lot of ass kicking, but it's not as bloody as they were hyping up. Then the title card dropped, and I'm like, after you said it and this guy said it, I'm like, wow, that's crazy that they would
and
put
it's
that
funny
in that
because
deep into the film.
I hadn't really noticed that the title card didn't come up, because
some movies they don't.
So many movies don't really do an opening or whatever, and I just didn't even think about it until it popped up, and I was like, whoa. And that's why I know that the first section is 45 minutes, because I had to check the time and see how far along it was, because I don't think I've ever had a movie that's been that long before the title comes up. And that signifies the turn of the movie, and then everything just ramps up.
That's clever.
From there, and then you get all the really full-on stuff for the rest of the film, and then it becomes not like typical action film, but it wasn't as stressful for me with what was happening. It was I don't know why. And then it got stressful again a bit later. But something about the early things and what happened was stressful. And then after, when it gets really brutal.
Right.
But so it's definitely kind of non-stop. It's like a John Wick vibe of being just non-stop action.
Yeah, right.
And so that's a really good film. I recommend that.
I'm actually just looking the lead actor in it. This is the first film that he's done, so that's kind of interesting.
Oh.
Yeah. So there you go. All right, cool. Well, there you go, everybody. That is all the films that Frankie has watched. Because I feel really weird that I didn't watch anything in the last 2 weeks. But the thing, so our kids recently hit 4.5 months old, and we've gone past the point of having to wake up every 2 or 3 hours through the night, which was brutal. But now we're kind of in the phase where we're having trouble getting them to sleep at night, and so it is really difficult trying to find time to watch movies. Even last night, I had my last homework movie to watch, and I think it was about 9 o'clock or so, let's get ready for it. It took a good couple of hours before one of them finally settled enough that we could put her to bed, and it's tricky, but we kind of like the kids, all right, I suppose.
You'll keep him.
Yeah, look, we'll let him stick around. But anyway, I was kind of thinking, I know we've said this before, but no one really does it. But look, if you guys want to get in touch with us, if you want to submit a question for us that we can answer on the next one, or if you want to talk about some great movies that you've seen, or, 2017, or the next one will be 2016. If you want to get in on some unseen, underrated 2016 films, hit us up on the socials, because if you want to find us on Twitter, we are at Dan_and_Frankie. Same with Facebook, or you can email us. It's been so long, I don't remember. What is it? Dan and Frankie podcast at either outlook.com or gmail.com. There you go, I did remember. Yeah, come and talk to us. Come and, throw a question. You'll be famous for having submitted a question to this podcast. Shut up, don't laugh. Yeah, so yes, how about this? If you send us a question, we guarantee that we will read it out on the next one. There you go. I'm throwing that out there. If that's not enough to get people interested, I mean, I know that there are people who already follow us on Twitter, people like Fraser Job. So yeah, get involved. Come on, be part of our podcast. We're desperate for friends. That's why. No, we're not really. But no, it would be cool to have some involvement with the good people out there. So there you go. All right. Well, what do you say we get stuck into our homework films then? We're done with everything else, aren't we? Yeah. Kicking it off with a little movie that probably a few people have heard about, 1984's A Nightmare on Elm Street. All right, so back in 1984, Wes Craven, who had only done 1 or 2 films, I think, came up with this kind of crazy idea for a movie about a dude who kills you in your dreams, and if you die in your dreams, you die for real. And thus was born, oh my god, one of the biggest horror movie franchises in the history of cinema. Whether you like it or not, that is indisputable. So A Nightmare on Elm Street came out, which tells the story of a group of high school kids, the main one being Nancy Thompson, played by Heather Langenkamp, who are all being plagued by dreams of a strange, burnt, horrible-looking man in a red and green striped sweater who has a glove with knives on the fingers, and you sort of get the impression that he's just kind of like toying with them at first, but then shit starts getting real and people start dying in their sleep in horrible ways, and it's up to Nancy to try and figure out a way to defeat the evil. And this movie was also notable for the fact that, as it says in the opening credits, introducing Johnny Depp, who was just so freaking
This is
awesome.
Very weird seeing him so young.
I know,
again.
Isn't it? It's just hard to believe that this movie is now so goddamn old. I mean, it's 40 years old. Like, how the hell did that happen? Because I remember in school when this came out, and there were like kids talking about it, and I mean, holy shit, we were 11 years old, and there were all these like kids who talking about that they'd seen it, and I was like, what is this movie? And I don't remember the first time I saw it. I know the first one that I saw theatrically was number 4, so I mean, I saw it at some point during the 80s, but yeah, this movie just blew my mind back in the day, and it still blows my mind now. What are your thoughts on this film? How does it make you feel?
Well, they always talk about the big 3. With the... sorry, I just got distracted by someone pulling into my driveway. I think it's the Amazon delivery driver bringing me records.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, the big 3, Halloween, Friday 13th, and Nightmare on Elm Street. I have always found, by far, Nightmare on Elm Street is my favorite, both in terms of first movies and entire franchises. And I don't like every Nightmare film, but overall, I would definitely watch this franchise over the others.
Yeah. And it does have more variety.
Yeah, I think... and I just think it's creepier, rather than just some guy walking around, like having this guy in your dreams. That I like sleep, and it's a safe place. It's your little rest from the world to sleep. So having someone trying to murder you in your dreams is very scary.
Yeah.
And Also, the fact that anything that happens to you in your dream happens to your real body. So, yeah, I like it's got that, it's the perfect mix of 80s. I don't know, it's not cheesy, but just, the 80s vibe,
Yep.
mixed with the really creepy stuff. And of course, this was when Freddy was more
Oh
serious.
yeah.
So, which I always forget when I watch this,
Right.
because even it's not even watching the other movies, but just around in the world, you just remember the later Freddy with all the wisecracks. And so when going back to this one, it's always like, oh yeah, he was a lot more sinister in
It's
this one.
refreshing, isn't it? I love how the first time you watch the film, there's that. I love how they do that opening sort of scene, like where he's constructing the glove, and it's like a sort of a smaller screen, like, you know what I mean, like it looks really, it was such an interesting aesthetic choice, like rather than taking up the whole screen. Yeah, you're seeing that, but you're sort of sitting there, you're like, well, what am I actually watching, like what is going on here, and then you sort of see, like, yeah, one, he sort of tests out one finger, and then you see the whole glove, and it's sort of like, okay, that's interesting, what's going on? And then yeah, then it just cuts straight to a really fucked up nightmare that Tina is having, played by Amanda Weiss. And yeah, there's some just really disturbing imagery, like, that bit where there's the goat in the hallway for no real reason, but it does give you that kind of, because sometimes in your nightmares, like, you do have moments where you're just like, why was that there? Like, why was Michael Shannon wearing Crocs? I don't understand.
Oh God, I hope that never appears in my
Oh,
dreams.
yeah. That would be a nightmare.
As much as I want to dream about Michael Shannon, if he's going to be wearing Crocs, then no, I don't want
And
it.
nothing else, just Crocs. Never mind.
That
Oh wow, now I've fucked up my own mental state. Like, wow.
karma.
Yeah, yeah. Which is not a word I would use to describe myself right now, because I'm having anxiety. But anyway, so no, I thought the nightmare stuff was really interesting. The settings, especially like in that kind of like boiler room area, where there's like that sort of brown drape where you see the claws coming through. I think that's like the first thing you see. It's all really weird. Like, yeah, everything's weird, But I think, yeah, it is interesting though, the fact that Freddy is just fucking nasty in this film. Like the shit that he does and everything, and like I like how you never really see him all that much. He's always obscured by shadows or a lot of dim light and everything, and you never really quite truly see him. Like the later films, of course, yeah, where he turns into a stand-up comedian, like you really see him quite vividly, because it was a very different kind of a beast then. But I think my favorite Freddy moment in this is that bit where I can't remember now if it was Tina or Nancy. I'm leaning towards Tina, where he's chasing her down that alley, and his arms are just like,
Yeah, that's
really
Tina.
super long. Yeah, yeah, Tina. His arms are just like massively long, and you're just like, what? Why? But then, of course, you remember it's a dream world. Like, he can do anything. But then
Yeah.
I love the next shot though, where he's actually chasing her, and he's just kind of got his arms out, like wobbling around. Like it
Yeah.
just looks so fucking disturbing. Like, it's a little moment, and there's all these other things where he's cutting off his own fingers, or you see his face peeling off, and like, all of that sort of shit is like really bad. But to me, the peak moment for him was just that moment where he's chasing her with his arms kind of outstretched, like, gonna get you sort of thing, and it's just like, oh man, I don't like that. I don't like that shot at all. But yeah, I thought like everyone in this movie was really super cool. Even like John Saxon as the her police officer father.
He distracts me every time I watch this because it looks like he's wearing eyeliner.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's a good point. Actually, it really kind of does.
Yeah.
But like he was in at
He's
least
cool.
one more of the series, maybe. But I mean, Johnny Depp was actually in two of them, because he actually reprised his character in part 6 in a very brief moment where uh, oh god, I've forgotten the actor's. I'm looking at his face. Breckin Meyer, there you go. Is dreaming of. He's watching TV and an ad comes on. It's Johnny Depp like doing a "This is your brain on drugs" kind of a thing. So he did come back later on, but no, look,
I need to watch the sequels. I came late to horror. I when I was young and going to the video store, I wasn't overly into horror, and I was
right.
watching certain things, but not like these kind of movies. And so I think I only 1 October, maybe 2, 3 years back, I went through the whole franchise. So yeah, I think maybe the sequels I've only seen
Oh,
once. So
really? Wow.
I might have to do the journey again
Yeah.
because I've got to get them in my head because they kind of run together because I watched them all close together. All I remember is I really liked four that no one likes. There was one that I really didn't like, and you just reminded me Breckin Myers in one. So, yeah.
Yeah,
So
that
I might
sixth
have to
one was
journey again.
weird. This is the thing, though. Like, I mean, obviously, I'll always prefer the first one because that was like sort of nasty hardcore Freddy. Like the second one was a strange film because the director basically just made the whole thing into a metaphor for homosexuality. Like I'm not kidding. You watch that film; it is just a whole movie about being gay, which but it had so many cool moments in that film, which kind of made it all right. The third one is a truly outstanding film. I would say that is the second best in the Elm Street series, and that's the one.
I'm just looking at my ratings. I put number four. Well, I just sorted it by my rating, but I'm just looking at what the actual stars are. I gave number four 4 stars,
Oh wow! Right.
which I know. Oh, actually, it's not quite as out of the ordinary as it seemed to be at the time. But number three. I gave 3.5, so I think four is. Oh yeah, Patricia Arquette was kind of annoying.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt
Um,
about that.
yeah, so that maybe made it less fun.
Yeah, yeah. But no, that movie was so good. Like a bunch of kids in a mental hospital because they're trying not to go to sleep and stuff. And there were some really great Freddy moments in it and stuff. Like yeah, that third one. But the third one was where he sort of started becoming that shit Freddy from the later films. I mean, I'm using that term very broadly, but no, look, I like the fourth one was the first one that I started going to see them in theaters. So that was 1988, and that was directed by Rennie Harlan, who's done some really amazing films. But yeah, look, I still thought that one was good. The fifth one I remember mostly because the soundtrack album for that movie is actually amazing.
Yeah, the fifth one is the Dream
Oh,
Child,
which you
and
gave
that's
one and a half
my
stars.
yeah. That's I didn't like that
See,
one.
again, it just there were moments and characters that are this like the character of Alice, sort of became his main nemesis.
Oh wow.
What's wow? What are you wowing at?
There's an actor in this called
Michael Ashton.
Michael
I just
Ashton.
saw that. Oh wow! Like I literally just glanced at that and I thought, oh, you're about to say that. Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Wow, that's really
But no,
interesting.
like I mean, I liked this movie actually really kind of inspired my resurgence of loving comic books because there's that guy, the character in it, that the comic book artist, and like there's that whole death scene where Freddy becomes a fucking supervillain and shit, which like let's face it, this is where it's starting to go off the rails. But I liked the subplot of his mother, Amanda Kruger, and I liked all the stuff, like going into the mental asylum where his mother was, raped by 100 inmates and all this sort of stuff. I'm not saying I like that stuff, but like it was really well
Yeah.
done. It was done very creepily. There were just so many moments that I really liked that sort of, to me, kind of overshadowed the shit parts. But then, yeah, the sixth one, Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare. Now that is a bizarre movie. That yeah.
That's fourth on my ranking. I
Oh, you
also
gave that three and a
gave
half.
that
Yeah,
three and a
okay.
half.
Because
Yeah, so it's matched with
yeah, yeah.
the third one.
See, again, that movie had so much cool stuff because it went into the history of, like, Freddy's life story, and you had Alice Cooper playing his dad, which was so fucking cool. And, it sort of went on to, like, how he became the child murderer and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, but it was a weird film. And yeah, I mean, following that, Wes Craven's New Nightmare, which I thought was up there. See, funnily enough, to me, 1, 3, and 7 are the best films in the series. And of course, 137 is the magic number. But that was a cool film. And I talked about that in the last episode about how, yeah, it just had this sort of cool meta kind of a thing where they're making a new Elm Street film and the real Freddy Krueger comes into our world. I thought that was novel. And I guess we're counting Freddy versus Jason in amongst all of that, which, yeah, again, so many cool moments, but overall it was sort of like, yeah, that was a film that happened. But yeah, going back to the first one, like, yeah, you just can't beat it. At the time, I just remember when that film came out, like, no one had seen anything like it before. I thought the poster was really freaking cool. Just that kind of weird sort of, the way they did the glove was almost like bones and stuff. Like, it just looked amazing. And so many just cool visual things, like the bit where Nancy's going to sleep and, like, Freddy's coming through the wall, like, that was such a great practical effect, and that was actually one thing, like, that you got to hand it to this film. It was all done practically, like everything, like the bed scene, if you know what I'm, like, Johnny Depp's bed scene, like, that was practical, like, everything was done practically, and yeah, like, it just added so much to it.
One scene that stood out to me this time, which is another, like, atmosphere thing, when she's sitting in class and it's Lynn Shay being the teacher and talking about Shakespeare, and then she gets this kid to stand up and start reading, and he's reading in this, like, monotone kind of voice, and then Nancy falls asleep and then starts dreaming, sees the Tina in a body bag and blood and stuff outside the door, and then suddenly the kid at the front of the class is just staring at her, but now he's got, like, a sort of sinister whisper saying the words, and I'm like, oh, I wish that scene was just a little bit extended before she left to follow the blood trail, because
I love that moment.
Really cool.
It's so good, isn't it? Like, yeah, it's just, and yeah, again, it just adds to the whole weirdness of a nightmare sort of a thing. And I can't remember his exact words, but yeah, something about bad dreams or whatever. And I just thought, yeah, that is freaking cool. So yeah, I noticed you and I both gave it 4.5 stars. I think. Well, what sort of didn't, stopped it from being a perfect film for you?
I don't know. I'm stingy with my 5 stars, and so it kind of has to like, maybe it'll be 5 stars eventually just from being a favorite, but it just doesn't fully blow me away. It just keeps it from the top.
There were a couple of moments here and there that I sort of thought, even though I appreciate that they use practical effects, there were just a couple of moments here and there that just didn't, that looked a little bit fake or whatever, and particularly a moment that happens at the very end, which we'll probably go into in the spoiler section, just looked a little bit sort of weird. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, there's you just can't deny whether or not you enjoy the film, or even if you absolutely loathe it, there is no denying that it was just one of the biggest things to happen to horror. And yeah, one day we'll discuss the remake, because
I've seen it
actually
once.
Probably now's a good time to discuss it, I guess, if we're talking Elm Street. Because
Okay, but I don't remember a lot of detail about it now. That's the thing. I was
yeah.
gonna try and rewatch it this week, but I didn't have time, so I didn't. But I mean, Carl Gallner's in it. That's the reason I watched it. And um, yeah, yeah, I don't remember, but I thought it was a good time. I gave it 3 stars.
Yeah, I gave it a shot back in 2010 when it came out because I just, I don't know. I think it's one of those things. I just don't think anybody other than Robert Englund can play Freddy Krueger because the character is that iconic that I just couldn't get into it. I mean, I appreciated Jackie Earle Haley sort of putting a bit of a different spin on it and stuff, but overall, I don't know. I just really couldn't get into it. I don't think they. It's just not the sort of movie that you can kind of take it, do something different with it because you can't do something different with it because it was such a specific story and everything. Like, I just don't think that is a movie they should have really bothered with.
Well, as I said in my
Mhm.
review, the Freddy hair isn't the best and can't compare, but I had fun. And also, I feel like it's like
Mm.
a comic book thing. Like, I don't have a huge connection to the
Mm.
original. Like, I think when I saw this, I'd maybe only seen the first one once. Like, I haven't seen it that many times,
Yeah,
the original.
right.
So, I'm the opposite of most people because I also have seen the Friday the 13th remake
Mm.
and I did not like
Mm.
that, and a lot of people praise that one.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I think because I don't have the connection, I was just like, yeah, you can't do a new Freddy that's going to work.
Mm.
Um, but you know, knowing that, I just was like, yeah, whatever
Hmm.
for Freddy, and I just watched the rest. But I don't know. I mean, it's Carl Gellner, so that would have helped me enjoy it as well. That wouldn't matter to you. So
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
who knows? I have to watch it again to be sure. Maybe I'll get to it
Yeah.
sometime this
I
month
don't know if
and
I'd
see.
rewatch it to be honest. Like I said, I just kind of felt like it was a very pointless remake because, the first one was just so perfect in what it was for its time. Like, it was lightning in a bottle. Like, and even, I mean, they had no idea that that movie was going to be so big. Like, it was just this low budget thing that they threw out there, and I believe New Line Cinema at the time was actually going bankrupt, and they needed something to revitalize the studio, and that movie, they then even dubbed New Line Cinema as the house that Freddy built because that movie saved them, and spawned this whole franchise and stuff. So yeah, it really was like just a product of its time, and yeah, I don't think it should have been replicated or attempted to be, but yeah, that's just my opinion. But anyway, yeah, that first one is just such a classic. I'm pretty sure that everyone listening right now has probably seen it, but if you haven't, you need to see that movie because, yeah, at least it's something different to your typical sort of slasher film. So, yeah.
Hmm.
All right. Which one are we going to do next? Do you want to do your movie or my movie? I think we should do
Well,
yours.
maybe, yeah,
Yeah.
because we'll have a comedy break before
Yes.
we.
Sounds good. All right. So, which movie did you like make me watch?
So I picked Scout's Guide to the Zombie
Mm.
Apocalypse, which I've had on my list to show you, but uh, as I said last episode, because you like Happy Death Day so
Mm.
much, I thought I'd give you another Christopher Landon film
Mm-hmm.
to watch this time.
Yep.
So this is about three scouts that have been friends and been in scouts for years, and two of them want to quit, but they don't want to leave their friend
Mm-hmm.
alone because they can't get anyone else to join the group, club, whatever you call the
Mm-hmm.
scouts. And they're going to do like a camp out thing for the guy they don't like, well, not don't like, but
Yeah.
they want to take off from the camp out to go to a party,
Mm.
and the friend is the kind of guy that you don't want to take to a party, so they were just gonna ditch him. And yeah, while they're at this camp out, zombie stuff happens, and so when they come back into town to get ready to go to this party, everything is going weird.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I had no idea what this film was or anything, and then you made me watch it, and I was like, yeah, okay. And I, I saw like, okay, yeah, Christopher Landon directing it. I thought cool because I love both Happy Death Day films. Ty Sheridan is the lead actor in it, and I am a monumentally huge Ready Player One fan, so that kind of appealed to me. And yeah, I thought, okay, let's check it out. So I just watched it last night, and thank you, so much for making me watch this film, because it was the sort of thing that, like, I'm watching this movie and I'm thinking to myself, like, I just, it's not treading new ground. It's not reinventing the wheel. I kind of feel like I've seen this movie before. Like, Sheridan's character, who is Ben, yeah, he has this girl that he's trying to impress, and then this other older girl comes along and is kind of bringing him out of his shell in a way throughout the story, but she's this absolute badass, and I loved her character as well, Denise, because yeah, she was just this real sort of kick-ass female, like, who was way more competent than the actual guys. So I thought that was cool. But yeah, and then David, is it Ketchner? David, the guy from Anchorman. Like, he turns up in it as the scoutmaster, and I'm sort of thinking to myself, oh yeah, like, he's always good for a laugh, But yeah, it's going along, and I'm thinking to myself, like, yeah, like, it's pretty cool, But then certain things started happening, and I'm trying not to laugh too hard, because I had just gotten my daughter to sleep in my arms, and Kylie had actually fallen asleep as well. We had a really massive night last night, so it wasn't anything to do with the quality of the film. She was just out like a light. And yeah, I'm like, okay, I can just broadly generalize it because it's not a spoiler. The world's greatest dick joke comes up, and I'm just sitting there like trying not to howl with laughter, because that was fucking amazing. And then the thing, like, I knew the thing with the cats was going to happen, but it was still, the way they did it though was awesome. And there were so many great comedic, like, so much great comedic timing in this thing, like, so you got this opening scene with this cool looking janitor who goes into this lab, and it's the whole thing of how the zombie apocalypse starts. But I loved that joke about how the scientist or doctor or whatever is out at the vending machine, and that thing where the folded up note is being rejected. I mean, oh my god, that happens in real life so many times. And then he's trying to get his packet of snacks, and of course, like, they come out and they get stuck against the glass, and all this sort of shit. I loved the tail end of that joke where like, he gets taken out by the zombie janitor and everything, and then you just see the vending machine, then boom, the snacks fall down. I was like, yeah, that is so funny. Like, and then later on, there was a moment where I think it was the scoutmaster is like sort of standing in the street or whatever, and you just see this person in a motor, like a mobility scooter, like driving across the street, and it just goes along, and then they're out of frame, and it's sort of like, that was completely unnecessary, but it was hilarious. There were just so many little things in this film that I absolutely loved, and for every moment that I was kind of like, seen it before, or saw this coming or whatever, there were so many things that happened that I just thought was so freaking cool. And yeah, so, like, overall, I really, really dug this film. I kind of almost thought the love story was going to go a different way, but it didn't, which we'll talk about later on. I don't know if I was happy about that or not. Like, yeah. Anyway, more about that later. But yeah, there was, and yeah, like you said, the humor was very sort of adolescent male humor. You know, there was.
Yeah, I think that's the make or break thing with the movie seems to be if you're on board with that kind of humor or
Yes,
not.
yes. Because like yeah, there's a scene. There's a police officer, a female police officer with big titties, who the guys are all kind of obsessed with, and then later on, it's not a big plot spoiler if I mention this, is it? Yeah. So later on, she's a zombie or whatever, and she gets her shirt stuck on a fence, and her top rips open, and I mean, they're gross, disgusting zombie titties, but of course, one of the characters is like, you know, they're about to run away, but he's got to turn back and go, like, have a feel and run off. He's like, I felt the titties and everything. I'm just like, it's stupid, but fuck, it's funny. And you know what? That would happen. Like, I'm, you know, from a male perspective, I probably would have done the same thing back then before I matured. I totally do it now. So yeah, look, overall, I really dug it. I couldn't rate it a full 5 stars because yeah, it was just sort of, you know, very lightweight entertainment that again, you've seen this movie before, but yeah, but no, look, I would absolutely 100% recommend it to anyone who's after a good laugh. I also appreciated the fact that the zombies in this were kind of, I think, you know, the writer or writers or whatever must have sort of sat there and thought, okay, do I want fast zombies or slow zombies? How about somewhere in between? Because they were generally the slow zombies, but they could move fast at times. And I kind of thought it was interesting that they, you know, had more sort of human characteristic, you know, like the Britney Spears moment, which I thought that was a little bit too silly, and kind of unnecessary as well, but whatever. Yeah, so there were interesting kind of zombies in this film. Yeah, so yeah, look, overall, yeah, I definitely dug it. Stick around in the credits. There is a little moment, of course, like yeah, in the mid credits that there's again entirely unnecessary, and even when it's about to have, you know what's coming up, but yeah, worth checking out still. But yeah, no, overall, I would give it 2 thumbs up. So yeah, thank you very much for showing me that film. I feel like I've just really talked about it a lot. Was there anything else you wanted to
Well,
add
no,
about
you've
it?
kind of covered
Oh,
it.
sorry.
I will just add Logan Miller is rather cute,
Which one
so
was he?
that also adds to my enjoyment. He's the
Oh,
smart ass
Carter. Yeah,
one.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Actually, there's something I want to discuss in the spoiler section about Carter because something happened that I thought was going to lead to something and it didn't. And I was like, oh, okay, interesting. Also, Patrick Schwarzenegger is in this film. And I looked at his name in the credits and I was like, there can't be that many Schwarzenegger people in the entertainment industry. And sure enough, he is the son. He's the son of Arnold. Oh, let's face it, if he was in the movie, it would have been very different. I terminate all the zombies. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse. If you can find this damn movie, good luck, because it is available to rent in various places.
I think it was streaming when I saw it, and it's one of those ones that as soon as I finished it, I was like, I need the Blu-ray, and so I bought the Blu-ray.
Yeah. No, I would absolutely own the Blu-ray of this as well. I think, yeah, we saw it was on Apple TV, and we were like trying to set up an account, and that didn't work. And like, I had a lot of trouble finding this movie, but we got there in the end. So yeah, no, thank you very much. I am very happy that I saw this film. Now, moving on to the film that I finally made you watch, because this is a movie that I just kind of feel everybody needs to see at least once. This is Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer from 1986, which is a fictionalization of the life of the serial killer Henry Lee Lucas. Although, from what I know about this film, I think the only real similarities were that he had a partner named Otis and that he killed people. That's pretty much it. But no, this film, I I had this weird thing back in, I think it was 1992. There was a friend of mine who I met at uni that year, and he and I had this like incredibly close bond where we were the same person. We we had the exact same personality to the point where we would actually, if someone would say something, we would just come up with some stupid random thing to say at the exact same time and just look at each other and go, "You're kidding me!" Like, what the hell? And we had this bizarre thing where I'd go around to his house late at night and we would just sort of stay up watching either this movie or the remake of Night of the Living Dead while eating a plate of nachos. And I don't know why we often did this, but I think we watched this movie like once a month or so. And again, I don't know why. It was just a bizarre tradition that we had. But yeah, this is a kind of a slow moving film, but it just, this is one of those movies that really kind of gets under my skin because a lot of it is to do with the production design and everything, like that little apartment that they share. Because you've got Otis's sister Becky, who's played by Tracy Arnold, who was only ever in 2 other films apparently. Like their kitchen is this disgusting looking dirty thing with this tiny little dining table that the 3 of them can barely fit at, and I feel icky, when I watch this movie. Like, so yeah, how did this movie make you feel? Like, because thankfully you actually enjoyed it, which I'm glad about.
Yeah, well, I have known about this for years and years and years and years. And it was always one you could never find to see anywhere. And it has a reputation. So I, wasn't really trying to seek it out. It was just kind of in the background, like, I'll watch that one day. But it's actually not as bad. I thought it was going to be this full-on, like, brutal, bleak thing. And it's not that at all. So that was nice. And I don't think you're so weird for watching it so often now.
Yeah.
It actually made me laugh in parts. So, and I did have a friend on Twitter reply and say that it is funny in moments. But yeah, and some of the line deliveries, I just cracked up.
Are there some that you can mention? Because I'm curious.
I wrote down. Well, I thought it was a bit cheesy when she's like, "I feel like I've known you forever," because she's just telling him her crazy life history when in what appears to be like kind of the first conversation they've had alone, and she just tells all these horrible details of what her dad did to her and everything. But there's a scene with the 3 of them together, and then Henry is like, "Don't do that, Otis, she's your sister." But just the way he says it, I just cracked up. It was just really, I know the bit you're talking about. I don't know. It just, the way he said it just made me laugh.
Oh, wow.
A lot. But yeah, so I mean it has dark things in it, and the last sort of half hour or so is really dark, but not like the whole movie isn't what I expected. And you told me it was a slow movie, but I don't know what expectations are watching this, but I wouldn't call it a slow movie. I guess if you're just after violence and all the murdering, then you might think it was slow. But I mean, it starts off with, he's just like having a meal in a diner, and then it switches to like, or it might start, but with a dead body of this woman naked laying on grass somewhere, and the music changes, and then it goes back to Henry, who's like paying the waitress and settling the bill and all of that, and then it switches to like a couple dead in their shop, and it's just going back and forwards. Has some really cool music when he's outside a mall watching all these women come out of the mall to find one and to follow, and then when he starts following her, like the music playing when they're driving down the road. Yeah, there's really cool stuff, and because it has that right at the start, and then it's just showing like the sister coming to town and meeting him, and Otis and whatever. Like, I just feel like it was always telling a story along the way, even though it wasn't showing all the violence and stuff until later. So it didn't feel slow to me
Yeah, right.
because it was interesting the whole
Oh
time. So
yeah.
that's not like usually when people say movies are slow, then I feel like it's just going to plod along
Mm.
and then interesting stuff will
Hmm.
happen. Whereas I felt this was
Yeah.
interesting with the music and the scenes and everything. I just felt like it was interesting the whole
Oh, that's
way.
good. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I guess I just sort of, compared to a lot of other sort of slicker
I mean, a lot of
Hollywood
people slay
things.
that, say that it's slow. So it's
Mm.
not just you. Lots of people have
Yeah,
said
yeah.
that. But yeah, I wouldn't describe it in
Yeah,
that way.
yeah. No, that's fair enough. But yeah, when I say slow, I mean like the movie has to be that way. I think because it's that kind of thing where it sort of lulls you into like a sort of a sense of security, and then something freaking brutal happens, and it just makes
Yeah,
it
you got to meet
feel.
the characters.
Yeah, it makes the brutality feel even more enhanced. Because you've sort of come along with that.
Also, this has the great dynamic that always makes a movie more
Mm.
interesting. Whereas, he's pretty good looking and he's quite
Yeah,
charming.
yeah.
So I always, especially when you compare him to
Mm.
Otis, who's
Yeah.
just like off-putting
Mm.
from the opening
Yeah,
scene when
yeah.
you see him, even though you don't realize what kind of person
Mm.
he is. He just has that
Yeah.
vibe. And I don't know, I love it when you're just watching something and you have that thing of charming, nice
Mm.
guy
Yeah.
does all this terrible
I
stuff.
don't. I actually don't think we've even mentioned that. Of course, Michael Rooker is the one who's playing the lead role in this, and
Mm.
yeah, of course, Michael Rooker. If you look him up, he has been in literally every movie ever made, and I'm not exaggerating. No, I am exaggerating. But yeah, no, that dude. It's mind blowing how many movies he has been in. Quite often in sort of smaller roles, but yeah, like his back catalog is just it's incredible. But yeah, I had a chance to meet him at a convention years back, and I was kind of like, oh my god, do I get Guardians of the Galaxy signed, or do I get like so many movies to choose from? But I actually chose this one for him to autograph because I don't know. Like, I think this was the first movie I ever saw him in, and it sort of took me a while to every time I saw him in something else to kind of get past because he's so powerful in this film, and I love how the way he plays the character. I think because the point of the film to me is that yeah, like serial killers, as you often hear, they just come across as normal people, and
Yeah.
he is this charming person who stands up for Becky when Otis is trying to rape her and stuff. Like, I mean, yeah, this movie has really shit people in it. Like, Becky's really the only, kind of decent character in it, and she's got this sort of really dark history and stuff. That's what I mean. Like, the whole movie just feels gross. It's like not a pleasant watch to me, which yeah, but it's a good thing, It's what the movie needs to be. But for me, like the pinnacle and the scene that I will just never get out of my head is, of course, the home invasion scene. Which oh man, it's so freaking realistically done, and I think that was another thing as well. Like that opening montage of dead bodies, I think. A lot of them actually kind of looked a lot more realistic than you usually see in a Hollywood film. Particularly that woman who was dead on her toilet, with her underwear down and stuff. Like the pose that she was
Mm.
in and everything was just sort of like, wow, she really looks like a dead person. So yeah, from the opening, it just really sets the tone, and it doesn't let go of that tone throughout the whole film, which yeah, I think is extraordinarily done. Like great direction by John McNaughton. So yeah, no, I highly recommend the film if you're after something like that because it is yeah one of the best of its kind, I reckon. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm very glad you
It was
enjoyed it.
good. I'm glad that I have finally seen it.
Yes.
I'm glad it's not as full on disturbing as I expected. So, yeah, I quite enjoyed it.
Very good. All right. Well, that concludes our.
And I will just say,
it doesn't conclude.
I mean, there's stuff we'll talk about in the spoiler section, but for all this as a portrait of Henry, I kind of feel like Otis was worse.
Oh yeah,
in a way, like, 'cause two different
there were,
scenarios.
because Otis kind of idolized
Yeah.
what Henry was doing and wanted to become that person, whereas Henry just had that inbuilt in him, you know. So yeah, no, that's a fair assessment. Actually, I'm just thinking now. I just got to check, because Tom Towles, who played Otis in this, he was too. It just occurred to me, I'm pretty sure he was in the 1990 Night of the Living Dead remake, which... So my friend and I, we used to watch 2 Tom Towles movies, and it's only just occurred to me. I don't know if we ever actually had that discussion before, but yeah, he's in both of those films. But anyway, yeah, sorry, I just got sidetracked for a moment there, because yeah.
It's funny, I've got this German film on my watch list that sounds similar. It's called The Golden Glove, and the description is just: a serial killer strikes fear in the hearts of residents of Hamburg during the early 1970s. And the picture on Letterboxd, just this guy just looks weird.
Oh, okay, right.
And so, you know, I mean, it's nice to have the charming persona to go as the opposite of the things people are doing, but then it also adds to the creepiness when they're creepy looking as well.
There's no doubt about that.
I'll be interested to see what that
looks like. Yeah, for sure. All right, well, that concludes our this week's feature films. So, what are we doing? What are we doing next week? Or next week is fortnight, I should say.
Or next episode.
Yes, next episode.
Hit or Shit, of course, is back, and it's your turn to pick. And you surprised me with the person that you decided we would focus on. I did.
So yeah, for the uninitiated, Hit or Shit is where we pick an actor or director and we dive into their filmography and we choose a movie each that neither of us have seen, and we determine whether or not it is worth your time or is to be avoided at all costs.
And we also have a bonus this time, which is that our main film also features this person, because Dan has picked an actor.
I have. Well, because my wife and I recently went and saw a 30 Seconds to Mars concert, which I kind of only went because she wanted to go, and I wound up loving that show so goddamn much that I don't think a day has gone by where I haven't at least thought about it once. Like, holy crap. But yeah, being in the presence of Jared Leto or Leto or Leto, I have heard his name pronounced so many different ways, it's ridiculous. That guy just... I looked into those crystal blue eyes. I looked into those oases of glory and wonder and was completely hypnotized, and I wanted to be part of his cult. I was ready to wear a white robe or whatever he wanted me to do. And, you know, as he was standing there singing to me, I know he was singing to me. I could see in his eyes, he was like, Dan, I want to be your next topic for Hit or Shit. Like, because Jared's a big fan of the podcast. We all know that. And yeah, he looked at me with those baby blue eyes and just had a little bit of a smile on his face and was like, Dan, come on, buddy, do it for me. Like, you know, so I was like, how am I going to resist that? You know, so yes, I have chosen Jared Leto as our actor. But you have chosen our main feature film for next week. What are we going to be getting into?
Yeah, this is a bit of a last minute thing. So off the top of my head, I thought, hey, what's a good horror movie that we both enjoy? And then I just was browsing and saw this one and thought, oh, hey, Jared Leto's in it. So, you know, that's a good thing to mix in with our Hit or Shit movies. So we will be watching Urban Legend.
We will.
A horror
Which
classic.
is going a little bit against the grain because normally this is a film that we choose that we are both a really big fan of. I have only ever seen Urban Legend once, which was back when it first came out, and so I don't really 100% remember what I thought of it and stuff. But look, I'm willing to jump into it again, and hey, it might fit in with the hit or shit sort of a thing. So
Well, hopefully you think it's a hit,
yes,
and it remains true to our
yeah,
format that
yeah.
it's a favourite of both of us.
We will see. All right, so the movie that I have chosen for our hit or shit is one that I thought looked really interesting. And looking at this now, I've just found out something that is so freaking mind blowing, it's got to be mentioned. So I've chosen a movie from 2007 called Chapter 27. Which is a film about Mark David Chapman in the days leading up to the infamous murder of Beatle John Lennon. The guy who plays John Lennon in this film is named Mark Lindsay Chapman. How freaking, like, what the hell? Like, did they do that intentionally? Or I've got to look into this because that is just too crazy. That a guy named Mark Chapman is playing a guy who was murdered by Mark Chapman. Yeah, I don't know. But, yeah, no, it's interesting because Jared Leto, like, yeah, put on a substantial amount of weight for the role, and I'm assuming he's got prosthetics done and everything as well, but, like, he's almost unrecognizable in this. But,
I love that you're just like picked like one of the prettiest people, and then this is the film that you picked where he's just looking not like
to
himself.
be fair, so it was actually Kylie's idea to go with Jared Leto because when we saw 30 Seconds to Mars, she's like, "Oh, you should pick Jared for your next hit or shit." And I was like, "Actually, that's not that bad an idea."
That's all right. I'm glad you're joining me on the pick a hot guy for the
Oh yeah,
thing.
but no,
Even if it was Kylie through you, you've still picked a
but
hot
we were
guy.
going through and even she was like, "Oh, this one looks interesting." So yeah, but yeah, I mean, I just don't know if it's. I mean, 2.7 on Letterboxd, so it could go either way. But that's the whole thing about
Yeah.
hit or shit.
I've noticed that it seems to be a theme with Jared's
Oh yeah.
films. Um, but I also know there's a lot of people that are a bit down on him in general as
Oh,
well.
look, there's absolutely no doubt. And I,
I just hope that we don't agree with this person who says Leto was great, boring ass movie, a story that really didn't need told.
yeah, yeah, or the person who said about an
Well, there's lots
hour and
of
24
good
minutes of
things.
babbling. Okay.
There's good things said about him.
Mm.
So, oh yeah, see, Jared Leto playing a big creep should have been the easiest role of his
Yeah,
life.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Look, yeah,
But
I know he's a weirdo in real
and then
life,
you have the
but
person who says, "I wish I didn't have to log this because the poster is hideous." I mean, you know, the type of people that are
yeah, yeah.
doing the voting on here
Now,
sometimes.
keep in
But
mind for those people
um,
who aren't really that familiar with Frank, we are the sort of people who it does not matter if a person is a complete weirdo in real life, whatever they've done or whatever. I know, look, yes, absolutely, Jared seems to be like a bit of a nut job and is kind of creepy in that he loves very young girls and stuff like that. But yeah, I can't deny that he is a phenomenal performer and everything. So yeah, we're basing everything solely on that. So yes, just as a bit of a disclosure.
well, my movie fits in pretty well with
Yeah, what
yours.
do you got?
Um, I am picking from
Mm-hmm.
2006, Lonely Hearts,
Right. Uh,
which is about the Lonely Hearts killers who were around in the late 40s.
Okie dokie. In the late 1940s, a murderous couple known as the Lonely Hearts Killers kills close to a dozen people. Two detectives try to nab the duo, find their targets via the personals in the paper. Okay, that sounds pretty cool. Who else? Oh, we got John Travolta, James Gandolfini, Salma Hayek, Scott Kahn. Wow, this has got quite a stacked cast in it.
Laura Dern.
Yep. Billy Madison. No, Bailey Madison. Also Ellen Travolta and Sam Travolta. There's lots of
another
Travoltas.
Bailey Madison film for me. She's turning up all over the
Ah, well,
place.
there you go. Cool. All right. No, that sounds rather interesting. And not only that, it is streaming on Tubi. So,
Also Amazon Prime.
is it? Oh, but is it free or? Oh, no, it's the free Amazon
Yeah,
Prime. Oh, okay,
Amazon
cool,
Prime.
cool.
Yes.
Excellent.
That's why I said Prime. Otherwise it would have been... If it says Amazon Video,
Yeah.
if it's the paid one.
Well, you can tell one of us knows more about Letterboxd than the other. And this one has 2.9. So, yeah, again, this one could go either way. So, yeah.
Yeah, but the other one I was picking from also had a rating in the twos somewhere.
Right,
so
right.
I think nearly everyone I looked at was about the same. I didn't look at the big hits. Like there's a couple of like really huge films that neither of us have seen. So, but I just wanted to. I mean, it's about serial killers and it's set in the 40s, so everyone's going to look pretty. So I'm going with that.
Absolutely. No, that's... I'm actually, I'm kind of regretting the fact that I have seen the movie Phone Booth numerous times. Although you've seen Phone Booth apparently as well, have you?
Yeah, I saw it when it came out, and I don't really remember it because, of course, Kiefer
that
Sutherland.
movie was so good.
Oh wait, was that Kiefer
Yeah.
Sutherland in Phone Booth? It was,
Well,
wasn't it? He was
mostly
the guy.
voice, though. You don't
The voice.
really...
Yeah. Yeah, but that's why I watched it.
Oh my god, I adore that film so freaking much.
I have to rewatch that. When did that come out?
2002. It was a very
So
Hitchcock...
that's a really long time.
Hitchcock-esque kind of a movie where, yeah, like, I mean, pretty much the entire film was set in a phone booth. So,
I almost picked The Thin Red Line because I actually have that on my shelf to watch.
okay, right.
But, I know that has like 1 million people in it, so I don't know how big Jared's part is. And I thought because we're focusing on him, I should get one that I know has a decent sized role.
Yeah, right. I'm actually just looking at Urban Legend. Michael Rosenbaum is in that film. So, and Robert Englund.
Yes.
What?
Yeah,
Brad
he's the
Dourif.
professor.
Oh, okay. Oh, so this is obviously they've got like horror people.
Brad
in
Dourif's
small roles.
the creepy guy at the gas station in the opening thing.
Oh yeah, that guy. I don't know. Yeah.
I can't believe you've only seen that once.
I
then.
have only seen it once. Yeah, but no, look, I'll go in
now
with
you
an
can see
open
it
mind.
again.
So,
Also, Alicia Witt as well.
and Fraser Jubb
that.
has already got it on his watch list. So, yeah, there you go. Cool. All right. Well, I guess that probably concludes everything that we had to say that doesn't involve heavy spoilers. So, this is now the time where we bid thee farewell if you don't want to hear spoilers for the films that we have discussed. But, of course, if you are keen to hear spoilers, if you've seen all the films or you just don't care, come along, jump into the jacuzzi of spoilerdom with us as we... I don't know. Yeah, that just fucking went really weird, didn't it? No. For everybody who's leaving us now, thank you so much for sticking around. We will see you in 2 weeks where we get into Urban Legend, Chapter 27, Lonely Hearts. It's going to be Jared Palooza. Until then, stay safe, watch lots of movies. Bye for now. For everyone else, let's go. Alright, here we go. It's spoiler time. Yay! If you are still with us and you don't want spoilers, you've been warned. So there you go. Alright. Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. What'd you think about that ending?
That was really funny because the way they set it up when they're driving away, I was like, oh, are they doing the fucked up love story thing? I don't see how that could work because he doesn't want to be touched at all. And so how is that gonna work out? And then but then they got to the hotel and then when they showed him shaving in the morning, like I knew what had happened.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I just knew because the way that they had them together, and then they just like he's like, "Hey, let's go to bed," and then they just cut to the next
Yeah,
morning, and I
yeah.
was like, he did do it.
Yeah. So yeah, of course.
But I liked that. I like it when you're going back and forth
Mm,
in your mind about like which way are they going to go with this. Oh no, it was when the change when I was like, oh yeah, this is not going to end well for her. When he started talking about his sister having the ranch with
mm.
horses, as soon as I heard that, I was like, he's going to kill her.
Yeah, yeah. I just love the way they did it though. Like you just sort of see him leaving the motel and everything and
Mm,
packing the suitcase and stuff, and then he dumps it on the side of the road, drives off. The camera just zooms in on it with the blood on it. And you're like, oh my god, he
mm.
actually killed Becky. Also, I just suddenly realized I've gone into like out of order because we normally talk about our main film first, but I just couldn't wait to get into this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I dug that because it just sort of really goes to show that because yeah, Becky was almost like this one person who maybe he could have been with in a Dexter and I can't remember his wife's name, but anyway, it doesn't matter. Kind of a way, but yeah, but no, he did not, which just goes to show that he was a real monster. He like yeah, there was just no sort of reaching that heart of his because it was probably not even there. It wasn't just dead, it didn't exist. I yeah, kind of thought it was interesting that like Otis also ended up getting killed, like, which I guess he kind of saw coming, like
Yeah, well, that was interesting when he's just jumps in on the killing and is like super into it,
mm,
and yeah, it's just I am, yeah, glad that he died.
yeah, yeah.
But it was just, yeah, I think that made it more creepy because a lot of Henry, they didn't show him doing
Mm,
stuff. And so then when Otis is there and you're actually seeing everything
mm.
and how into it he is, and it makes it more creepy
Yeah, well,
that he's so into it and like rewatching that
yeah.
video all the time
I
and
was going to
stuff.
say, like, yeah, because that home invasion scene, I love so much that you don't see it. You see it as an after like thing, like where they're watching it on playback, because of course they steal a camcorder from that guy that they kill for a TV. And I love that you see it from the camera's perspective, and yeah, like I love it, like yeah, even the mother, like Otis is like snapped her neck or whatever, and he's about to like sexually violate her, and even Henry is sort of like, Otis, no, like, and he's sort of like, wow, for someone to actually, gross Henry out, and like even he's got a limit, like that's kind of crazy. But it was interesting that Otis gets stabbed in the eye because in real life, it was actually Henry Lee Lucas that had the fucked up eye. Just reading here, like Lucas developed an infection in his left eye at age 10 when one of his brothers struck him with a knife. His mother ignored the injury for several days until a teacher swiped him over his eye with a steel-tipped ruler and the eyeball burst. It had to be surgically removed
Ooh.
and was replaced with a glass prosthetic. So yeah, I mean, God, that happened when the kid was 10. Like, it's no wonder he turned out to be completely fucked up. So yeah, the fact that Otis gets stabbed in the eye, that was kind of a nod to that, which I thought, yeah. So that's what I mean. Yeah, the movie was very much fictionalized, but yeah, but no, that ending I just thought was perfect. I didn't want Henry and Becky to go off into the sunset and live happily ever after. Like, it's sort of, yeah, it didn't suit the rest of the film. So the fact that he did murder her, I thought, like, yeah, it's a shame, but it happened. So yeah, there you go.
Hmm.
I don't have any other spoilers for that film. Do you?
I don't think so.
Yeah. Well, so
I've
yes.
covered
Sorry,
everything.
Nightmare on Elm Street. I interrupted you. I don't really know if I have too many spoilers. I do like the ending, the ambiguous ending of that film. I do like that. After Nancy has defeated the evil by basically turning her back on it, which I thought that's cool. Like, kind of a strong, moment of empowering the character. Um,
But did it work?
Exactly. That's the thing. Like, you then kind of go into like, everything's bright and shiny and like the mum's back and everything, and it's sort of like, oh, okay. And then you're even, the first time you watch it, you're even, well, I was kind of like, oh, was the whole movie a dream? Like, what's going on? And then, all her friends are back. She gets in the car, but then, of course, the roof comes over and it's red and green striped, and then the car drives away itself. I do think that moment where the mum gets pulled in through that tiny window on the door, like, that just looks weird, and the fact that they sped it up as well because they obviously thought it looked really shitty. Yeah, that was kind of a crap moment, but of course that Johnny Depp scene, like, it's one of the most discussed death scenes in horror history, like where he's laying on the bed and then, like, just sort of gets sucked into it, and then that geyser of blood just comes erupting out, which I think, if I remember correctly, they constructed the room on a upside down set, like, so everything was sort of locked down and everything, and then just poured the blood through, which I mean, it looks amazing, like, it was such a great visual, wasn't it? Yeah. But I don't know. That's about all the spoilery stuff I've got for that one. I don't know,
it's in typical slasher. That's just
exactly.
There's not really spoilery things in those.
Yeah.
That most people are gonna die. And
well, but that being said, like, because Nancy does turn up in the third film again, along with her dad, because she comes back as, like, she's sort of a professional in terms of dreams and therapy and stuff like that. So she comes to the hospital to try and help the kids out and everything. So her character obviously survives. So yeah,
I actually forgot, because I knew she came back, and so I had forgotten that the movie had this kind of ending.
So,
but I guess at the time they didn't know they was going to become a franchise.
Oh yeah, they didn't.
They just put that ending as a good end to the thing.
So I think you kind of got to disregard the ending moving forward, and then you got Heather Langenkamp herself plays Heather Langenkamp in that seventh one, which was all meta kind of thing. But but no, I dug the ending for what it was at the time and stuff. So Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse. Yeah. What I was talking about, the love story, I almost kind of wanted, Denise and Ben to end up together, like, because it was sort of...
Really?
I did.
But how old is she meant to be?
Only a couple of years older, wasn't it? Because they said that she dropped out of high school, like, only a couple of years, I think it was. It wasn't that big a difference. But I don't know.
Because they would look weird together, because he... I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's the Scouts uniform.
Yeah. I don't know. I like...
Although, how old are they meant to be?
Oh, I don't know.
Because he's got the crush on the friend's older sister. So,
yeah.
I mean, he's got the age gap thing anyway. Yeah. But she seems older than the older sister. So.
Yeah, I know, but I don't know. I was kind of hoping that Kendall was actually going to get mauled by a zombie and turn into a zombie so he could end up with Denise. But I think I just liked it because Denise was the one who helped him, get out of his shell a little bit and, sort of man up, if you will.
Yeah, but that you didn't want to go the typical... Well, I mean, it went a typical way, but also if he'd ended up with her, that would have been a typical way.
I guess either way you can't win, but...
that, cool chick helping him out in his coming-of-age story.
But the thing that Okay, so maybe I missed something. So when they're in the house of the old woman, Mrs. Fielder, does that say? Played by Cloris Leachman. When she's a zombie granny and stuff. So Carter gets bitten on the ass by her. Mm-hmm. Why does he not turn into a zombie?
Because her teeth fell out, so she couldn't break the skin.
Of course. Yes, I did miss that. Sorry, it was really late last night. I was extremely tired when I was watching it and stuff.
It's okay. I had that thought in the scene, and then I was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right.
She's got no teeth.
And I think they mentioned it as well, but at that point,
Yeah, they'd say something about gummy.
yeah, but Harper was laying in her cot, like playing with toys and everything at freaking midnight and stuff. And I'm like trying to watch this movie, but she's making cute baby noises and stuff. So I did kind of miss a little bit there. Okay, cool. No, that because I do remember the teeth being knocked out and stuff like that. So that's actually freaking hilarious. That makes me love that movie even more now. Yeah, but the whole time I'm like, oh no, he's going to turn into a zombie. And then I get to the end of the movie and it's like, oh, he didn't turn into a zombie. Okay, got to bring that up. But anyway, cool. Thank you for elaborating on
You've
that.
lost one of your flaws now.
That's a good thing. Like, that's good. Like, yeah, excellent. I didn't really have too many other spoilers about the film. I don't know. Just, great overall. Yeah. All right. Well, what do you say we get out of here? Let's go and enjoy the rest of our Sunday.
Yeah, I got to play my new records.
Yes, you got to play your new records. I've got to go and eat.
And do my costume trial. So I might have to send you some photos.
Please do, because, I'm looking forward to seeing
Hopefully
it.
I can get it to look halfway decent.
Yeah. All right. Well, to everybody out there, thank you very much for sticking around with what we thought was going to be a shorter podcast, but here we are pushing the 3-hour mark. So there you go. If you're still here, congratulations. But anyway, no, thank you so much for sticking around. And we will catch you on the next one with the movies that I've already mentioned, so I'm not going to mention them again. Until then, stay safe. Bye for now. Watch lots of movies. Have fun. I love you.